For Texans, and we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with David Craig and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go in a new week as we roll into the middle part of July. Good afternoon. I'm David Craig, and this is the Smoak Show on 365 Sports and YouTube. Craig Smoak is here as well. Had a weekend where I was able to just kind of relax a little bit. Hopefully you did too. And we get set now after Big 12 Media Days for some of the other conferences to have theirs this week, and eventually all the way to the end of the month with the Big Ten and then also the SEC. Craig, what were your thoughts on Friday when you heard the news? And good afternoon. Nice to see you. With Jamie Pollard, who we had on about 2 weeks ago, announcing that he was, in fact, retiring in a year.
Well, yeah, I mean, good to be with everybody as always. What's up, chat? Hope y'all had a good weekend. And, yeah, it was good to have a little bit of a extra day this past weekend after the craziness of Big 12 Media Days. But almost seems like some weird calm after the storm now. It's like, oh, now we got to just kind of like chill out for a little while. Thankfully, these other media days will start up and give us some other things to talk about. But, yeah, I'm starting to see – the conversation about how early media days was as you get over it, and then you turn around and you're like, oh, damn, we got a really long way to go before we still get to the season. It felt like we were about to start playing games here, which was obviously a lot of the part of a lot of conversations last week. But that was fun to get a little bit of a break. And, yeah, while we were gone, saw the news on Jamie Pollard, and I guess – I didn't have like some crazy reaction to it for better or worse. I was just like, oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's interesting. And yet I'm not surprised. He's an older guy. He's been around a really long time. He's seen it all, done it all just about at this point that there's you're able to do it at Iowa State. I mean, the guy's been a part of our conversations when it comes to athletic directors for years and years now. So everybody's time comes to an end, especially in this college era. I think you want to try and retire and give yourself some time to kind of enjoy and relax and really be soaked into your last few years and whatever that looks like, whether it's grandkids or vacations or whatever. So yeah, not surprised to see anybody at this point in their career decide to go away. And so for Jamie Pollard, from that standpoint, yeah, not surprised, especially a guy being in this industry with all that you're dealing with and knowing we had him on 3 weeks ago and he's riffing on Texas Tech and that whole situation. You could see where, yeah, like at this point, you had your fill, and it's time to go off and enjoy some other things in life. So that's kind of how I took the news, was just, yeah, a guy who's been around a long time, who's up there in age and who wants to enjoy retirement. Good luck to him. Certainly been massively influential and important for Iowa State athletics, and has been a guy who's been a lightning rod at times with the fact that he's not afraid to talk. And at other times it's been refreshing that he's been a guy that's not afraid to talk when others have been afraid to talk. So, congratulations to him, and look forward to seeing what their off-ramp plan looks like and who this new person to fill these massive shoes will be in Ames, Iowa.
All right. I agree. And I even had somebody send me a text. I guess it was Friday evening that said, blank Jamie Pollard, whatever. He's gutless for some of the things he said about Tech. Do you also know, you can have your opinions in college football about sports, about anything. The man's tough as hell. He overcame testicular cancer. He battled that and has been doing very well, and left. No matter how difficult at times he was, and maybe at times he was probably a little bit defensive, he also maybe is as important a figure in Iowa State athletics history as most anybody, and that's according to some of those who cover Iowa State.
Yeah, I didn't realize we were going to get straight into like somehow Texas Tech would be involved in this too, because that was so much of the conversation last week. But I'm not looking at it from a Texas Tech fan standpoint. I was just looking at it from a person seeing the headline on Friday and just reacting to that.
Me too.
Yeah, if you're a Texas Tech fan, then I'm sure you have some sour grapes, because I mean, he was on this show 3 weeks ago saying they deserved to pay the lawyer fees for the rest of the Big 12. So, yeah, I can see where you don't like him or agree with him or want to MF him or whatever, but that's your prerogative. For me, I just know how much impact he's had in Ames, and I'm not surprised to see somebody who's been an AD for 20 plus years eventually want to call it a career. So for some people, this is good riddance, and I think that's probably some Iowa State fans as well. He wasn't always totally popular there. I know there's been a lot of talk about him. Like I said, he's a lightning rod, both within his fan base and within the rest of the college football community. So I'm sure there were a lot of good riddance, or all right, see you, don't let the door hit you, as much as there was, oh, thank you for all that you've done for the Cyclones. So, that's probably going to happen when you've had a career as long as he had, and you're not afraid to speak up, whether it's for better or worse.
No, he has always been very transparent, very, very, like, you can see inside how he's feeling. He released a statement, Iowa State, as we are showing you that was released on Friday. And then I looked around Chris Williams, who went skydiving, I think, this weekend. I saw him. He was going to join us, not available. And at some point, we'll be able to get back and have Jamie on the show to talk about more, as he has a year left. But here's from Jackson Pence, covers Iowa State. Love him or hate him, you can't tell the story of Iowa State athletics without Jamie Pollard. He inherited an athletic department fighting for relevance and leaves it as one of the most respected athletic programs in the country from where they were 20 years ago, hiring Matt Campbell, TJ Otzelberger, Kevin Dresser, Fred Hoiberg, Paul Rhodes, and so many others, transforming facilities and elevating expectations across the sport. He changed the trajectory of Iowa State forever. Also had, no question, a vision, trying to get that one area around the stadium fixed and be like an Iowa State just haven. That still has work to do. Cheers to you, Jamie, and congratulations, and an well-earned retirement. And that's it. That's from Jackson Pence, and that's how most everybody I saw Chris Hassel make the comment that he has done everything you could have asked him to do, but now is also a really good time with the way things are to let somebody else take the baton and move forward.
Yeah, I mean, that appears to be somebody, I wasn't familiar with Jackson, but he's a Cyclone fanatic writer, so he's an Iowa State guy, and I guess very thankful, and that's nice and lovely for him to say. I'm sure Jamie appreciated those kind words there. But I think it's a guy who's been around a long time, like I said. So good luck to him, and whatever happens. And I think that will definitely be big shoes for whoever steps in next, and you're going to be challenged more than ever before. I mean, Jamie Pollard, for all he did for Iowa State during the years, and not all of it was good, or not all of it was something the fans always agreed with. Oftentimes there were disputes, but overall, he did a lot more good than harm for that particular institution. I don't think the rest of the league probably blinks too much of an eye over this news, other than Texas Tech here recently. I don't think the rest of the college football world probably takes too much notice of this. But if you were paying attention to Iowa State for any reason over the years, then you understand the impact that he had. And so there's going to be a new athletic director who's going to have a lot to live up to, and is probably inheriting them at the most difficult time imaginable, because as much as they've been set up to continue having success, I mean, now this is a pretty big change to be making at a time that's very uncertain, especially for schools like Iowa State.
All right, then there is Michigan. Man, they seem like they just have a mess everywhere around them, and they're not the only athletic department that has had issues that have been long-term, but man, are they Ward Manuel, the AD who has been running Michigan in recent years, and of course you know all about the sign stealing and much more. Ward Manuel, according to Darko State News, this is Justin Spiro, he has a podcast. He has reported many times on things Michigan, and then Michigan fans or others have said he's full of crap, but he did this yesterday. Ross Dellinger followed up that he is going to be out as Michigan AD, the university negotiating terms of his release. An announcement is expected this week. Now, Ross Dellinger this morning reached out to Ward Manuel, who told Yahoo Sports, the president and I have had several great conversations over the past couple of days. There are no plans for me not to continue to be the athletic director for the near future. You can read into that on that as much as you want. One more thing, Craig, and then we get more into it. From Aaron McMahon, who covers Michigan for the Ann Arbor News. Ward Manual in Michigan, the agenda for Thursday's Board of Regents meeting in Traverse City is out. There is no mention of the external athletic department investigation into or of the AD. He then said, now to be clear, that doesn't necessarily preclude the board from discussing topics. It's possible, even probable, that they do come up, but there's no dedicated items carved out in the agenda, which you can then view on a link that he put up on his Twitter page.
Yeah. So, I mean, this has been quite the talk of the last, I guess, couple of days or so. Obviously, a massive job and a massive spotlight on that university and on that AD position. I mean, no shortage of people who would line up to want to be the next Michigan AD, but there is a bit of a mess and a questionable culture there, and that's been the case now for a while. Now, Michigan's got so many fans that they can kind of drown you out. They remind me of schools like Texas or Ohio State, where if you dare say anything negative, you've got like 10 people that are immediately in your mentions trying to tell you why you're too stupid to understand or why you don't get it or count the national championship trophies or whatever. And so I think with Michigan, there has been coverage of this, but it gets drowned out sometimes and just all the kind of noise and gets discarded and, oh no, y'all are, making too much of nothing. But there's always been just something swirling out there about Michigan. There's just been that way for 3 or 4 years now, whether it was, I hesitate to even say his name. Everybody knows the guy's name, but the sign stealer, it's almost like we haven't said his name in a while. I don't want to say his name and all of a sudden we start talking about him regularly again. But the whole Connor Stallions deal, we know what that was and what that looked like. And what happened there is disregard. Oh, no, everybody's doing that. And everybody's doing that. You had, obviously, the situation with Sharon Moore. You had Juwan Howard. You've had any number of things that have been to some degree controversial and have pointed to signs of maybe there's some issues in that athletic department, or maybe it's not the best culture over there. And maybe you have the hacking guy, the assistant coach. That's still a story that I don't feel like we've heard the tip of the iceberg on exactly what all that entailed. We've heard some details, but I don't know. Is it all connected to somehow, or is it just randomly they had all these weirdos doing weird stuff all at the same time on campus, where you have this rogue sign stealing guy and you have this rogue hacker and you've got is everybody, you have just all this stuff going on. So yeah. And when you have a lot of fans that can kind of drown it out, but also a lot of fans that can just point to trophies oh, we're that bad? Well, how's this national championship trophy in basketball? Oh, we're that bad? Well, how's this national championship trophy in football? Oh, we're that bad? Well, how are these national titles in these secondary sports? They've continued to have success in particular the biggest sports here over the last 3 years. So for all that culture that may be rotting, they've still been very, very successful, and I think that's kind of hit it. Had they been unsuccessful, then Ward Manuel's probably out 2 years ago, right? He's probably thrown onto the curb a long time ago, but the fact they have been successful, I think, kind of covers some of that. So, yeah, I mean, I'll believe it when I see it, I guess, because with all due respect to Darko State News, and I'm sure they've been accurate in the past, I don't know them well enough to just go oh, yeah, no, this is undoubtedly 100% going to happen. We'll see when it does, because there are people pushing back on it, but they're also using vague language that looks like to free themselves up to maybe make a move, not today, but to do it 2 weeks from now, and it would still be accurate. But this doesn't surprise me in the slightest because of all the things that have been swirling around them for going on 3 or 4 years now.
Here's a picture that you're not going to be able to see. You can see how long that list is, right? All of that is 24 different scandals under Ward Manuel. And now some of them not nearly as bad as others, but we'll get to that. Meanwhile, Michigan, Trey Wallace, who's been on vacation, sent this to me, and he also put it up on his Twitter page, spent over $11 million on Jenner & Block law firm to investigate its athletic department regarding almost 6 years of scandals, NCAA violations, and one involving the FBI. This was always going to end with people losing their jobs or some type of early retirement. I traded a text or two with Trey. I think he's going to join us maybe Wednesday. He has been all over this, and this was something he thought was about to pop. Now, one other note, all of what was apparently told to the board by Jenner and Block, guess what? What does this remind you of, Craig? there apparently may not be any kind of written document or 100 pages or 200 pages of what they found within the Michigan Athletic Department. They were told by mouth in meetings about what they had discovered, which if you look and talk to those who have been a part of these before, that is not a surprise. This is Pepper Hamilton 101, where there is no document of anything that they found when they were looking into Baylor or other universities and even corporate America. There normally is no evidence trail of what actually they found.
Yeah, I think, that's a smart way to try and avoid, I guess, any incriminating evidence. I think to explain it a little bit better, you kind of referenced it, but yeah, Baylor, when they had their sexual assault scandal ongoing, they hired Pepper Hamilton, which is what you're referring to there. And then when everybody wanted to see all the information that they had investigated and uncovered and see all the facts and details of it, Pepper Hamilton claimed that there was no written report, which a bunch of people call BS on, but you know what? We've still never seen it. So it was a tactic that worked. And I have a hard time believing everything that's said by any lawyer representing anybody anywhere. So I definitely side-eyed that back in the day. And I'd side-eye the fact that Michigan could have spent $11 million and it had nothing to show for it in that regard, but could also totally see where, that was intentional to not have a paper trail or to not have something that's extra incriminating out there on them. So, that's not surprising. It's something that you could definitely look at and feel is a bit sleazy, but it's not the first time that approach has been used. And I guess it worked out for Baylor because had there been a document, then I know how widely that would have been shared and how much that would have maybe further burned things down than already was to begin with. But still to this day, at this point, time's kind of run its course on that story and people have lost interest or just have thrown their hands up and said, all right, well, there is no, clearly we're not going to document at this point. It's been freaking 10 years. So, I don't think it's coming out of the woodwork anytime soon. But for Michigan, there's definitely a microscope on them this week. And there's been one on them. I've seen various coverage of Michigan along the way and kind of detailing these things as they've happened. And that list you showed, not everyone is any indifferent from other athletic departments, like a guy getting in trouble for, like DUI or something like that. But when you do look at that list, it's not just players getting in trouble. It's like some of that, but it's mixed in with a bunch of like authority figures getting in trouble and getting involved in, like, for example, really weird stuff like the Sharon Moore affair and how that all was going behind the scenes, and the Stallions thing and the hacking thing, and there's just like a combination.
You mentioned Juwan Howard hits a Wisconsin coach and sparked a brawl.
Yeah, Juwan Howard was just a moron who's had anger issues and is getting involved in all sorts of confrontations and threatening people, and just clearly a dude who does not have the composure to be able to lead an athletic department the way Dusty May clearly was able to go and lead an athletic department. Juwan Howard just seemingly not having the temperament for it. But, it's something that's been swirling in the air for a while. I just think I've always been in the impression of like, well, it's Michigan, so nothing's going to ever happen to them. And clearly the NCAA – just like, I'm not going to wait on their phone call. I'm not going to hold my breath while they conclude their investigation at this point. So I don't know if there's even anything going on there at this stage or not. But there's been a ton of stuff that if you all stack it up and put it in list form, you get like 24 different things in the last few years that you could qualify as scandals and have led to coach firings and NCAA investigations. So I don't think that there's any denying that, there's possibly a culture issue at Michigan. Is it enough to get Ward Manuel fired now at this point? Well, some people seem to think that that's coming, so we'll see, I guess.
Here are a couple of more things. One, a former assistant, Chris Partridge, alleges that Michigan AD Ward Manuel and others were aware of the relationship between Sharon Moore and Paige Shiver. That's the intern. He also alleges a Michigan assistant coach contacted Shiver's family around December and convinced them to come forward. He also said that Manuel told, I don't know if it was administrators and or coaches in the athletic department, basically, do not bring this up. Do not give this to anybody within compliance. Those are stories from also Trey Wallace and Ross Dellinger, among others. Now, Tom Mars, attorney, sports law attorney. Boy, we've gotten to know a lot of them. Here's what he said about when a corporate or university board retains a major law firm to conduct an investigation involving any kind of embarrassing scandal, even for less than $11 million, there is a tacit understanding between the board and the law firm that their report will provide a basis to fire or force the retirement of at least a couple of scapegoats, and that current board members will not be subject of any criticism. That's a fact. That's from Tom Mars and his experience, and that's kind of going back as well to Pepper Hamilton and Baylor back about 10 years ago.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add on to that. Yeah, I don't have much to add on other than it just says what it says. And yeah, that seems about right. That typically the board members will get away with any sort of a punishment. And so, like I said, we'll see on Ward Manuel. I don't know what to expect other than, yeah, there's clearly a lot of noise that he's on his way out, and yet there's some pushback that indicates otherwise. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of people covering their own asses, and you spend $11 million. I mean, that's even for Michigan, that's a lot of damn money. And yeah, I think you would have some certain understandings that there will be people protected, and there will also have to be some heads that roll. So I guess his head's on the chopping block right now, and we'll see if in fact it'll be his that is the next to go.
Partridge, a former staff member. Also, the federal lawsuit includes not only just the University of Michigan, Ward Manuel, Santa Ono, who's the president, Tony Petitti, who right now is the Big Ten commissioner, and also all of University of Michigan Board of Regents. So this is either an assistant coach who wants something in return or has a bone to pick, or all the above could be true as well. Then I thought this was the best way to wrap up otherwise an ugly situation in Ann Arbor. Remember when Texas Tech and what was going on with them and their former almost quarterback. Remember, Michigan is one of the schools that decided they didn't want to play Tech anymore. There's a couple of schools that said, we don't think that we should play Tech, and even some that said, don't schedule them. Ryan Hyatt from Ryan Hyatt Media, I thought, put a kind of a cute little ending on this. In light of this report, I'd advise Texas Tech volleyball not to schedule Michigan volleyball for the foreseeable future, Reckham.
Yeah, Texas Tech fans finding their opportunity to throw a little slide in there, and I can understand why after they were thrown into the spotlight the way that they were, and so many came out of the woodwork to try to smack them down a little bit more, including some teams, saying that they weren't going to schedule them. So, it's a nice little dig back, and I think Tech does warrant the reasons to want to pop off from time to time. A lot of their media is popping off here over the last week. A lot of their media is talking a whole lot. But, I can understand where they're coming from, given the way they were talked about. And yet, there will be nobody to turn around and say, oh, well, Michigan had this, that, and the other. And, again, I feel like every time the Michigan stuff gets brought up, it gets downplayed immediately. There will be a story from Dan Wetzel about it, and then it'll just go on, and we'll kind of forget about it. But they're not propping up the Sports Center studio on location in Ann Arbor. They reserve that only
you mean
for.
They have not reserved like the entire third floor of some kind of Marriott?
No, that's only for, I guess, sexual assault scandals, because they did that for Larry Nassar in Michigan State. They did that for Baylor, and they maybe done it once or twice other than that. But I haven't seen them posting up on campus at Ann Arbor, and I don't know what you can attribute to Ward Manuel not doing his job, or what you can you attribute to being rotten culture. Like, there's certain things on that list, again, like a guy who's an assistant coach getting like a DUI or something. I mean, I don't know that I sit there and say like, oh, well, Michigan's rotten to the core because that happened. But when it's like the 24th thing on a list of things that you could point out that have been like either arrests or accusations or allegations or whatever, then there's a pretty lengthy list of reasons why you could say, is he running the tightest ship here? And is this really the best culture that you've had? Multiple assistants, multiple non-coaches, multiple this and that, all finding some type of a trouble here and there over the last 6 years. I mean, I think that list is a lot longer than just Brennan Sorsby and whatever there. But I think Michigan's not out there with a donor going, F you guys, we're going to, and I think that's probably part of the difference. But no, Ryan Hyatt or whoever is rightfully deserving of taking a little pot shot back at Michigan and throwing a little joke their way as well. Absolutely.
How about this? Shahan Jaraja normally is with us on Tuesday. He's missed a couple of weeks because he can take time off too, but he's going to join us today, not tomorrow. He wrote an exclusive story and a feature on SMU quarterback Kevin Jennings, who led Dallas, South Oak Cliff, led the Dallas ISD to their first state championship in 63 years. We know what he's done at quarterback. He's been on this show for SMU at least 3 or 4 times. SMU is launching a Heisman campaign around Kevin Jennings. Why a hometown long shot could take SMU to the top spot. There would be there was no chance if SMU was not a part of at least the ACC. Doesn't mean a group of 6 or 7 or whatever number there is now, player can't win it because we've seen them make a run. But this is pretty cool. King of Dallas, Kevin Jennings, friend of the show, hell of a player, great young man, and SMU has launched a Heisman campaign for their quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, it's, a smart idea, and I think we'll start to see more of these get launched. A logical guy to do that for, given how long he's been around. He's been playing college football for what feels like 7 years now. I mean, gosh, he's been playing a while. I think, there's every reason to want to try to prop him up and promote him and feel like SMU is going to have another pretty good team and go out there and try to make it happen. I don't have him high up my list of Heisman guys that I would bet on right now. I think he's a really good player. I think they're a really solid program. I don't quite have my expectations concrete for SMU in 2026. I still need to look around a little bit more, read some more of the magazines and just kind of do my due diligence on that. But I know they'll be good. To what degree is a question. But if they're really, really good and he's doing his thing, then they're in the heat of that ACC race and the playoff race, then that'll be the way to ensure that you get to promote him a little bit more, and maybe he does have a real shot at it. But it's going to take at least that. And you're right, there's no Heisman campaign whatsoever 3 or 4 years ago when they're not in the ACC that would be really all that realistic. There have been non-group of 4, however you want to refer to it, type of guys, but I think it's getting harder and harder for those types of guys to get their spotlight. So that ACC life raft, or the one that SMU basically went and created themselves to get themselves into the ACC, has already paid major dividends. Maybe it'll pay dividends here. I don't know. I think he's probably behind your Arch Mannings and probably 6 or 7 other quarterbacks actually. But he's a really good player. So it makes sense to have a Heisman campaign and get that going, especially with ACC Media Days right around the corner.
I believe that we'll get him on as well, as we always normally do when they start to get up close to the workouts in August. And then I was wrapping up, putting together the rundown for everybody. Then this story popped. It's not breaking news, but it is. BYU has hired or is combining and having a marketing sponsorship with Entrada. Will be the first jersey patch partner for BYU football. Brian Santiago, their director of athletics, we are grateful for this new sponsorship with Entrada and excited to welcome them to the BYU athletics family. Entrada brings great value to BYU athletics. We are excited about this new relationship and anticipate a bright future. I think there's a picture of the actual, there's the jersey itself up above what you have with the Nike logo Entrada.
Yeah, so that's a color change they made, and I think that it was red before, so obviously you didn't want that on there with the BYU-Utah rivalry, and that looks good. It blends in nicely. That's one of the most least, I guess, offensive types of logos when we picture in our minds of how gaudy this is all going to be. That's about as simplistic and as much as you can get something to blend in. So well done on that front, BYU. That doesn't take away from all the rest of it. It's not too crowded or tacky like I think some of these other ones that we're going to see will be or have been. So I think that's a good one for them. And for all the hand wringing over the monster patch last week, we'll see how all that blends in together. But this one's very streamlined and simple. And this is about as good as you can do without it's about as good as you can do putting something on that's a sponsorship without taking away too much from the traditional uniform itself. So I like that.
This Entrada was started by BYU students. First customers were BYU student housing apartments, won the 2003 BYU business plan competition, has always been led by a BYU alum. Excited for this partnership at Entrada, and they are now a part of what is BYU athletics moving forward. So good for them, and they move on. All right, we're going to break here, and in the next segment on Friday, there were released the ESPN FPI rankings, ratings. There's a difference, and I mean, my Twitter feed went nuts about, oh my God, and yes, you would think the conferences like the SEC and the Big Ten had a bunch of people involved. So I tried to break this down so we could discuss it and get your feedback, being a college football fan as you are, and even maybe a trend or two. Dave Bartu from College Football Matrix Analytical will join us today at 5 to kind of go over it with his take on this. So that's coming up around the corner. Let's take a break right here. Rez, Logan, Garrett, Andrew, and also Houston are a part of running the mothership. The Smoke Show continues on 365 Sports. So over the weekend, I was thinking about this with QC Kinetics and the impact they've had on my life. We were on the road last week on Monday night, and then we came back Wednesday after our show in Frisco, and I didn't even think about this, and then I did. So on Tuesday and Wednesday morning, I just did a little light jog. Not very long, but I got up, got dressed, sweated a little bit, ran around the neighborhood for a couple of miles. And I hadn't done that in 4.5 or 5 years, because if I haven't been running or jogging, I surely on the road am not going to get up early to just walk, although a lot of people walk and keep themselves very healthy. It was so refreshing to do that while on the road. It was refreshing to do that because it's about 20 to 45 minutes, depending on how long I run, of just clearing my mind and also thinking through some ideas. And I would not be able to do that without the greatness of QC Kinetics. Using your mind, natural biologics to heal your or my pain in your joints, elbows and shoulders, your knees, your back, your hip, wherever it might be. After I just struggled with it and nothing got better, no matter how many steroid shots I would get in my spine, my cervical, my back, or anywhere else. QC Kinetics has 2 locations, one in Dallas and also one in Houston. Those are the numbers, 972-972-8610. And in Houston, 713-913-5285. If you are looking at the possibility of the next step being a procedure or surgery, before you do, I was never going to let anybody cut on my back. I'm not going to do it. But before you do, free consultation at QC Kinetics for them to go over what they do, taking your plasma, your platelets, your stem cells from inside your body, spinning it, and then putting it back inside where you have pain. It works. Get rid of the pain. Don't just kick the can down the road. It is wonderful to be able to jog. It's wonderful to be able to do something where before I would just sleep an extra hour on the road or even at home. At QCkinetics.com.
Stream Texas weather calls for Ray Broker, your Lennox premier dealer. Sign up for our year-round comfort plan and keep your home the perfect temperature no matter what the forecast is. Call or visit raybroker.com now. Ray Broker, your air conditioning and heating specialist.
Make this the summer event at Allen Samuels in Waco. Get behind the wheel of an iconic new Dodge Charger RT and score $5,000 in savings. First responders and military members get an extra $500 bonus. Allen Samuels Dodge.
Come by, let's be friends.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, Your Bank for Life.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
If you need legal advice on medical malpractice or personal injury, 18-wheeler accidents, or criminal, probate, and estate planning and transactional work, including private equity acquisitions, buying and selling businesses, and employment agreements, please contact David Dumas at the David Dumas Law Firm at daviddumaslawfirm.com. This 3 o'clock hour is brought to you by QC Kinetics. Feel better, move better, live better with regenerative medicine using your body's own healing abilities for natural pain relief. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. With locations in Dallas and Houston at QCkinetics.com. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoak and David Smoak.
Well, I mentioned on Friday, Craig, I don't know if you saw this, but ESPN and different media outlets that cover sports, they start to have their preseason this or their list of this, or even might be their top 10 quarterbacks in a certain conference. And then ESPN released their top 25, what they call CFI. It's a CPI, a college football index. Now we're going to leave it up for a second. That's not this year. That's 25. We need the one for 26, please. That's last year. Thank you. The football index is a measure of a team's strength that is meant to be the best predictor of a team's performance going forward for the rest of the season, represents how many points above or below a team is. Projected results are based on 20,000 simulations of the rest of the season and using results to date, remaining schedule, and much more. We've been doing this for ESPN since 2019. This is not Bill Connolly, who does a lot of those ratings, rankings, and all of that on teams. This is not him. This is this year's FPI. This is not the AP Top 25. This is not the college football playoff. However, if you look at that list, 12 of those 25 teams are from the SEC. In fact, 12 of 16 teams in the conference ranked here. And 9 of the top 13 are with the SEC. Big 10 has 7, ACC has 3, Big 12 has 2. That's BYU is a part of that, and also with, I just lost my train of thought, Texas Tech. And then Notre Dame is also on this list. So there, leave that up for a second, Craig. Now, Indiana is at number 6. Last year, they were not in this at all, and of course, they went on to win the national championship. Do you think it's possible for, this is not rankings, but 9 of 12 teams in the SEC are in the top 16, 9. Now, look at 18. Who is that? Florida Gators. They were 4-8 last year. 4-8 last year. Now, doesn't mean they can't go 8-4, the new coaching change and, do whatever they do. Then you have South Carolina at the bottom, 4-8 or 5-7 last year. Auburn didn't make a bowl game, but they are in this top 25. And I'm going to go back to 25 in just a second, but your thoughts about this one here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't lose my mind over rankings the way a lot of other people do this time of year, but there does seem to be a lot of baked-in SEC bias, which I guess is what you're hinting at and what I saw most people immediately pointing the finger at when it came to this being released late last week. When you looked at the schedules and who had the toughest schedules, I think the SEC had like 15 of the top 16, and then Georgia was the only one that wasn't like right there at the top, and they were at like 20. So the entire conference had already baked in that they all have the toughest schedule in America over basically every other school in the country. Like, I can get for some of them that they do have that because they are playing some combination of Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, or something like that. I don't for one second buy that all 16 of them have like the top 20 toughest schedules in America. Like, I don't believe that. And as good as you might be, I don't think that you're so deep and stout, and your schedule is so evenly balanced that it works out to where that's the case for all of you to be in the very top grouping. So you nearly have all of the schools here. I mean, they're nearly all in this top 25. I know FPI is not Bill Connolly, which is the SP plus. This is more of like the predicting games, but yeah, okay, a Texas at 2, I can certainly believe that. I know there's a lot of people that are going typical Texas preseason hype machine, but you know, when you do it every year, eventually some years you're going to be right, is kind of how it feels. And this year, yeah, it does feel like they're worthy of some of that preseason attention. So I don't balk too much at that. I mean, Alabama being the next up, but Georgia, being the next up. But at number 5 is I guess not all that surprising. Alabama all the way at 8. Like, so right now, not so bad because it's only 3 of the top 8. But yeah, by the time you get to the top 25 and you're looking at Florida and Auburn and South Carolina, like I know Missouri's had some success and Tennessee's had some success, but like I don't know that I'm buying that every middle of the road to say SEC team is top 25 ranked and all of that. I guess that just is why this boils down to talent rankings and recruiting rankings and some of the things that are a part of this equation here. And that at least makes it make some sense. But no, that starts to smell a little sour the farther you get down the list. You're like, all right, Florida and Auburn and South Carolina are all in this top 25. Like, we can't get Arizona State in this SOB. Like, there's not another ACC school that could possibly be in this list. Yeah, they're a deep conference. They're a very talented conference, but yeah, I don't know about the bottom of this list and how I feel about seeing basically all of their middle of the pack teams being crammed here at the very end of it.
All right, so there's 26. Now you saw a smidgen. Let's go to what was like in 2025, and let's break this down. In 2025, the SEC had 13 of the 25 teams. That included LSU, 7-6. Arkansas was 22. They're 2-10. Florida, 18, where they are this year, 4-8. South Carolina, 4-8. Auburn, 5-7. UT was good, really good, but they did not make the college football playoff and were right on the edge, but they didn't. The Big Ten, Nebraska, 25, they were 7-6 and got bludgeoned to end the year 2 or 3 times. Penn State, look at where they were. Number 5, they were 7-6, had a coaching change. ACC, Clemson. Where is Clemson? Well, they finished at 7-6, and they were a part of just 3 teams in the ACC. They were 11th. And then the Big 12, Texas Tech wasn't a part of last year's top 25. They're not in there. There's no logo for Tech. There is this year. And Kansas State was 6-6. They, of course, did not play in a bowl game. They opted out. They finished at 6-6. And Notre Dame, the only independent, at number 7.
Yeah, I mean, we could do this for the AP Top 25 probably as well, right? I'm sure that they've got some teams that probably didn't end up as good as when they started. And again, this is predictive. This is like how you would take Arkansas and put them on a neutral site field against an average team, I guess is how they phrase it, an average FBS team. And you factor in all the data that you have. And I'd imagine that's a lot more difficult to do year to year now than it was before because so much more is having to be predictive with the talent you bring on. But yeah, they're basically saying that Arkansas would be the 22nd best team in the country on a neutral site field against a common FB or an average FBS opponent. And yeah, I guess that was proven false last year. And it's one of those things where it's just kind of self-fulfilling. And I think that's the problem that a lot of people have with FBI is that it's basically telling you right out of the gates, these are the strongest teams. So then when they go and they start talking about strength of schedule, what are they talking about? They're talking about this. They're like, well, 12 teams from the SEC were in the ESPN FPI in the preseason. It's like, yeah, but the FPI in the preseason turned out to not be all that accurate, that like half those teams weren't even deserving of being in there. But we don't talk about that part of it until like after the season's over with. So yeah, this is not a perfect exact science. I do think it tends to overrate the SEC a bit more, which has kind of been proven out the last couple years. And I do think the negative to it, other than it just being any other meaningless really in the grand scheme of things, graphic or poll or whatever in the preseason, thing about this is that it does kind of end up mattering when you start talking about some of these playoff arguments and strength of schedule metrics and things like that. It does lean, to my knowledge, the best way I've seen it described, it does lean towards the SEC because of how it starts off when you've got 16 of 16 in the top 25 or whatever the hell it is. This is last year's, right?
Yeah. Look at the bottom of the graphic, the image. It's 6/3, 2025. Now, take all that down because I know what's going to happen, and that's fine. There's going to be a lot of people that think that's this year's. It's not. I already showed you 2026, and please, there you go. And that was last year. To make also some of these, you had something else to say, but some of the other things I want to get into about the FPI.
No, I think it kind of is self-fulfilling, like I said, that you kind of say up front that these are the hardest schedules, and then you use that argument, and then by the end of the year, it turns out those actually weren't the hardest schedules. And so I think that, yeah, that's something worth pointing out and acknowledging. And it's a preseason poll, so not all of them matter in the grand scheme of things, but this one does kind of come into play. So I think that's why people side-eyed and critique it a bit more. And yeah, it's one of those things where they really heavily love in this formula, however they put it all together. I know it's part recruiting rankings, so that explains some of it, but whatever other methods they throw into this, it does lean heavy towards the SEC. There's no doubt.
All right. So of the teams last year, the 9 teams last year that were ranked among the top 13, remember I said 9 of 13 from the SEC. Name the only school of those 9, only one school actually finished higher than their preseason FPI. It was not Texas. They were 11. They started 1. Georgia was 7th. They started 2. Alabama was 10th. They started 3. Tennessee finished 19th, and they were 8th. And one more, A&M finished 12th. They were in the playoff, and they started at number 9. There's 4 more teams. Which of those do you think, Craig, actually were higher than they were projected in the FPI start of the preseason?
Ole Miss, Oklahoma.
Ole Miss.
Oh, yeah.
They were 10th in the preseason FPI. They finished 9th by 1. And they were good, man. They had a good run. South Carolina, 11. They ended 34. LSU, 12. They ended 26. Florida, 13th. They ended 37. And all 3 of those schools are ranked, and maybe they'll be better, a lot better, inside of the FPI preseason top 25. And if you look at a lot of the reaction, and this is from either media members, even fans, some that are SEC fans and some that aren't, that it sets a narrative on who is tougher, stronger, deeper, and better before playing a single game, even if it at the end shows otherwise.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying by self-fulfilling. Yep. It just tells you right up front, oh, these are the toughest schedules and the best teams, and then they just kind of let that be the starting point for the conversation moving forward, when clearly it's not an exact science, and based off of multiple teams that moved nearly 10 spots from where they started to where they actually ended up, then yeah, if this is going to be used as a tool to prop up an argument or used as some of the numbers that go into the equation, then it's fair to critique them and feel like, yeah, maybe this thing leans a little bit heavy SEC. And if you're more conspiratorial minded and you believe ESPN and the SEC are, well, we all know they're in bed together business-wise, but if you believe that ESPN will be so inclined to prop them up a little bit more, then this is a tool to be able to do that because it weighs heavily SEC. So, yeah, I think you could go back the last couple of years and like half of the teams in the initial rankings are all actually lower by the end of the year than where they started. I don't know how different that is from other random preseason rankings and polls of that nature, but yeah, this is one where if you are of the opinion that the SEC gets the benefit of the doubt and the system's kind of rigged in their favor, this is probably something that you attach to and say, see, this is exactly what we're talking about. If you're somebody that feels like all those people are crazy, then I don't know what you think about the FPI. Maybe you just think it's a poll. Maybe you think it's great. But, yeah, it's definitely not exact. And it's been proven out the last couple of years that it can be pretty wildly off as well. So, yeah, that's why you need to have a lot of different information that you work with if you're this playoff committee or media people doing their jobs, and not rely on one or two things, because even with the ESPN name slapped on it, for whatever that's still worth for people, there's still teams that have to go out on the field and play. It's not all recruiting rankings and how that adds up with your strength of schedule that's already baked in, because you've already said all 16 of these teams have 20 of the toughest schedules in the country. Like, again, and I'll go back to self-fulfilling in a lot of ways. It's self-fulfilling when you say, these are all the toughest schedules. Now we're going to bake that into this equation where it's that's very favorable, and recruiting rankings, which is very favorable, and then whatever else. Then, yeah, on the other side of that recipe, it bodes well for the SEC teams. It's a nice recipe for them.
Stevie Heisman, people really get upset about computer rankings.
Yeah.
And then also, newsflash, other computer rankings have just as many SEC teams in the rankings. But after a while, it does feed, it feeds a narrative that that's the bubble. That's the top 25 bubble. When you have that many teams that are ranked that high, and all of them are supposed to have the best and hardest schedules because they play each other, there's a bubble that happens. The problem is year after year, the Big Ten has 7 teams. Now, I don't know if they have more than 7 that should be a part of it, but 7, it's every year. It's like rinse and repeat or copy and paste. I'm mad about it. It just looks kind of shady.
I mean, if you want it to feel that way, like I said, like, I don't put a lot of stock in and get too worked up over preseason rankings. I definitely see where there's the method and the methodology here. There's a little bit of a kink in the formula, or however you want to look at that. So, yeah, that's right for people to point out. Beyond that, I don't really care too much. So to that person's point of like, yeah, there's definitely some people I saw on Twitter getting worked up over this. I think with the Big Ten winning the last 3 national titles, I think there's this feeling of, why are we still seeing like the entire SEC get the quote unquote benefit of the doubt, or get propped up, or be treated like they're all just having to play the toughest schedule in the world? I think that's maybe where some of that's coming from, is you've thought that at this point, maybe it wouldn't be so heavy in their favor, but that's all I can think of for those wanting to really kind of tear this thing down. It's not accurate all the way, just like every other preseason ranking is not all accurate. So I guess it's just up to the beholder to put how much stock into it you want to. FPI is not really anything I lean on or care about all that much. I think it's something I look at the beginning of the year and kind of monitor throughout. But beyond looking at it for maybe predicting games or just kind of seeing how the playoff is shaping up, yeah, I don't care that much about it. And you can create all sorts of narratives in your head if you want to about it. And certainly some people just feel like the SEC gets too much love. And I think, again, with the Big Ten winning a bunch of titles lately, you thought that maybe that would start to like self-correct and it would be a little bit more balanced. But the computers and the information they plug into those computers still are ringing up SEC. So if you want to cry conspiracy or just chalk it up as whatever, then yeah, take it in and interpret it however you want to. But certainly it's not an exact thing. And the only way to prove it is out there on the field. So brag about the toughest schedules in the country. But the only thing I really care about at the end is who's bragging about hoisting the national championship trophy.
But for Indiana to not be a part of it. And by the way, that does happen in the AP, or what used to be, or still, I guess, is the college of the coaches poll. It can happen. And it's good. It's great for college football. But Texas Tech to not be ranked, okay, there were still some people like, let's see, even though all the hype and all the noise and stuff, let's see. This year they are. Indiana's ranked number 6. They could flip again. But to use South Carolina, Auburn, and Florida and do it again this year after last year is a little bit awkward. And where's Vanderbilt? I mean, add them to the list. I wouldn't complain about that because of what they're coming off of.
Yeah, but I don't think it's somebody adding them onto the list. Not like Jerry and the department saying, oh, we got to make sure we get our quota of SEC teams. I mean, it's the computers spitting it out. So blame the information they're putting in there. And yeah, so Kentucky's not on there. So is there a conspiracy for that? Like, I get where people are coming from. I also get how, again, it's self-fulfilling. I think that's the problem people have with it. And we can leave it at that, is that you are setting yourself up to already be arguing of how you're better positioned and how South Carolina is more deserving of Texas Tech because ESPN FPI said this, that, or the other, or maybe not Tech's a good example because they're ranked highly, or Arizona State, right? And I think that's what probably drives people crazy, is how is Florida above BYU? Like, how is that possible? Now, maybe it's because of the specific thing that they're talking about, but yeah, you see something like that and you go, why is Penn State above BYU or whatever? And that's what I think gets people going is they look at it like a regular ranking when it's more of a predictive thing, which people sort of gloss over.
All right. One final note, 2 notes. Rez, do we have the pictures that we were going to use later on? We're going to break and come back with Shahan Jayaraja. We have a great family of viewers and that watch this show, family members that watch this show. And here is, you all know S. Michael DeHart from West Virginia. He is a huge fan of West Virginia. He is also a huge fan of what we do on 365 Sports. There's this picture that he sent me over the weekend. From left to right, Andy DeHart, Amarillo, Texas. Judson DeHart, that's Andy's son. Then you have Michael DeHart, St. Albans, West Virginia, Bob DeHart from Boone, North Carolina, and Lonnie DeHart from Winchester, Virginia. That's one of the pictures. We'll have a couple others later in the show, but great to see all of the DeHarts and the generations in that picture. And Michael, thank you for sending that to us. Thank you very much. All right, when we come back, Shahan Jayaraja, also Agent Confidential. We will hear from the book is called Agent Confidential, and looking forward to having on the show today Mike Chodron. He wrote the book, has a lot of insight on negotiations, NIL, and also coaching contracts. We'll have him on, and then later on, Dave Bartu, College Football Matrix. David Smoak and Craig Smoak, thank you for your time. We're back in a minute with Shahan, 365 Sports. Petty Clinic, LowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. How can he help you? Well, first of all, are any of these symptoms a part of your, everyday resume? Your energy is not the same. And it's not just that you didn't sleep a lot or you just needed a little bit of a power nap, but it's not the same. Your sex drive is not the same. And even if you have that, the performance is not the same. It could be low T. So why not try and make sure that if that's the case, you have somebody that can help you increase it, and or maybe it's not, and then you got to find out something else. Contact Dr. Petty, Petty Clinic, LowT.com. Tell him I sent you. He and his staff will set you up to get your blood work, take care of that appointment, and then he gets the results. And when he does, he'll get in touch with you. Maybe your results are okay. Maybe they're really lower than they need to be, and he can help you out. With Dr. Kent Petty and Petty Clinic, LowT.com.
It's in the major leagues for 24 years. And let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Celebrate American value and American quality during the Red, White, and Blue sales event at Richer Car. You want a Richer Car GMC? Get your Sierra now and save $13,000 or more on every truck in stock with trade-in. Save $14,000 on a 2026 GMC Sierra SLE Crew Cab. Or save $13,500 on a 2026 GMC Sierra Pro, now under $29,000. Drive American quality and get American savings during the Red, White, and Blue sales event at Richer Car.
Richard Car, they have the truck for you.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
This 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Stonewood Dental, your one-stop shop for your dental needs, specializing in teeth cleaning, fillings, crowns, sealants, root canals, IV sedation, extractions, implants, bridges, dentures, full mouth restorations, and bioaesthetic dentistry. Our priority is your comfort from the moment you walk through the front door. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoak and David Smoak.
All right, here we go. This 4 o'clock hour. Shahan Jayaraja joins us. I sent him a text about tomorrow, and he said, it's better for me to come on today, and it is great to have him on today or any day because of his exclusive feature on SMU quarterback and Dallas's own Kevin Jennings, and then also SMU has launched the Heisman Trophy campaign. Shahan, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
All right, so I love the logo, by the way. I love the logo they have with this Heisman campaign. We've had him on, seems to be just as grounded and yet knows he's good, but not cocky. Tell us a little bit more about Kevin Jennings for those who don't know.
Yeah, Kevin is a really interesting kid, very quiet kid by nature, but he's somebody who's understood in these past couple of years. He needs to be more vocal. And, for people who don't know, he was born in the city of Dallas, primarily raised in Oak Cliff, led South Oak Cliff High School in 2021 to the program's first state title ever, and the first by a DISD quarterback in 63 years, I believe it was, since 1958. Then he goes to SMU. He ends up winning the job, leads them to an American Conference title, leads them to an ACC title game, leads them to the playoff. He's 14-2 as a starter at SMU, and this is for a kid who didn't have an FBS offer before Rhett Lashley happened to find him 2 weeks after taking the job. So, it's a really unbelievable story. They've gone with sort of the moniker King of Dallas because of what he's done in this city. And again, I think that he's somebody who, frankly, should be getting more attention than he's getting right now. It's funny. I looked back and crunched some of the numbers of the last 4 quarterbacks to win the Heisman Trophy. They were right around 3,800 yards passing, 36 touchdowns, 400 yards rushing, and 7 touchdowns. Well, Kevin last year was at 3,600 yards passing, 26 touchdowns, and he was a little bit hurt last year, so he didn't run as much. So I think that the statistical benchmarks are in play. I think when you look at the schedule that he has ahead of him, they've got a great opening game against Florida State. They've got Notre Dame late in the year. They'll probably have an ACC title game against Miami if they're as good as they should be. So, look, it's a long shot, right? But when you're talking about 100-1 odds, I think it should be way higher than that.
Shahan, they were really good a couple of years ago, got into the playoff that first year in the ACC, just a big splash debut. Little bit of a step back last year, losing some more games, but still in the upper part of the league and in the race to try to get to the title game there late in the year. You just mentioned you think they're going to be in that again. How much do you feel like SMU has boosted their brand over the last 3 years. Do you feel like they're being talked about more? Is there more of a respect for them, or are they still scratching and clawing for a lot of that?
It's a little bit of both, I'd say, right? Because again, I don't think that people necessarily understand how good they've been. You mentioned last year, of course, especially in non-conference play, they had some issues with Baylor and TCU. And by the way, not a great loss to Baylor, certainly. But I do think that people don't necessarily realize they were one play away from beating Cal and being back in the ACC title game against Virginia. If they had won that game, they might have gone to the college football playoff in 2 consecutive seasons from the ACC. So like they've been really, really high quality. Even the year before that, like I mentioned, winning their first conference championship in 40 years. But again, I think it's a little bit of a process, right? They're starting to see some of these things pay off. Their recruiting is ticking up. They're doing a great job still of being a bounce back program. They added a kid in the class of 2029, by the way, who's like the number 1 or number 2 player in the state of Texas. So I think they're still trending upwards. Like, I don't think that they've arrived by any means. So I think that the ACC kind of understands what this team has become. I think that nationally, they're only scratching the surface.
Shahan, when did you graduate at Baylor?
2016.
Okay, so you weren't there yet when Baylor did their RG3 campaign.
Correct.
Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say that that was really kind of underway right as I got into Baylor. So I did pay very close attention to it. Actually, it was like basically the same week that I got into Baylor was the week of RG3's Oklahoma game.
Yeah, and they launched that. And to me, one of my favorite little gifts, and it's like usually a small something, was Colin Klein. Kansas State started a Colin Klein Heisman campaign, and it was a Band-Aid. It was like a collectible card or a little like tin case with a Band-Aid on it because of the style of him being a battering ram, which to me, that was my favorite one. What about from you?
No, I mean, I think that those were both great. And like you said, I mean, Baylor in a lot of ways kind of revolutionized the modern Heisman campaign, right? Like I give a lot of credit to Heath Nielsen and his staff at the time for the way that they handled that. Obviously I think that the Ed Oliver bobblehead when he was like riding a horse, that was always a great one. I never actually got my hands on my own version of it, but that was a really good one. Last year, actually, Jeremiah Love's camp, they sent out some sort of candy hearts and like said all you need is love on it. So I thought that was pretty good too. I love this stuff, right? I know I understand, like, people are like, well, what's the marketing value, what's the diminishing value of it? I love this stuff. I think that it just helps drive conversation. They sent me sort of some mock-ups of some t-shirts and stuff that they're going to put out there at SMU. This stuff just matters, right? And I had a conversation last week with Rhett, or a couple weeks ago, I guess now, with Rhett Lashley, that coach over at SMU. And he was like, look, so much of the narrative about the Heisman specifically is set in the offseason. And you go back 2 years, right? I mean, Kevin Jennings, in his mind, outplayed Cade Klubnik by a pretty good margin in the second half of that ACC title game. But because Cade Klubnik played well against Texas in the playoff, he was the guy coming in with number 1, Heisman odds. Well, he feels like, man, the conversation should have been more around Kevin. We should have pushed Kevin more than we did. They're trying to rectify that in some ways. And again, this is going to be the final season for Kevin Jennings at SMU. He's going to walk away with every essentially passing record at SMU and a lot of marks that are competitive with anybody in ACC history, and they don't want to miss this moment.
Shahan, speaking of narratives being set in the offseason, we were just talking a little bit ago about the ESPN Football Power Index that was released for this year, which I'm sure you saw was getting a lot of conversation on Twitter, SEC favoritism. And my whole thing is it just kind of does set a narrative out there, and then everybody can kind of have their own individual way of how they look at it. How do you look at things like that, especially in the preseason?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because I do think, like let me be 100% clear and on the record about this. I think that SEC teams largely have the hardest schedules in college football. Less because of the heights that teams are at, more because the middle class and lower class teams are a higher quality than other places, right? But with all that said, when you look to everybody pointed to the strength of schedule stuff, which was whatever to me. I actually think that the Football Power Index stuff that actually the stuff is based off of is the thing that got me a little bit more. I think it was like 21-23 was like Missouri, Florida, and Auburn or something like that. And again, like the thing is, we have examples over the past 2 or 3 years that by the end of the year, most of these teams that have started so high no longer finish as high as maybe we expected, right? I mean, again, to me, the SEC is still by far the deepest conference in college football. I do think that the schedules are the hardest, but like, I think that where we kind of lose the plot a little bit is that they don't have the excellent teams anymore. They don't have the Alabama necessarily. So you can sort of say like, man, you know, Arkansas had to go through, 9 very good teams. Do they have to go through a great team at this point? I think that that's a question that the SEC isn't really answering at a very high level.
Is it that, is it still that there's a lot of name brands, like the Big Ten does too, and even the ACC, the Big 12's trying to figure out who theirs are, BYU, Tech, et cetera. But is it because there's so many old traditional football logos in the SEC that also leads to that, or is that not even the case?
No, it's 100% a driver of it with public perception, especially. The other thing too is that I think that when you look at the SEC, I've talked with coaches before. I actually talked with David Rand about this specifically. The SEC is a player acquisition league, right? Like, it is a league where you find guys, you add them to your roster, you plug and play. That's how you build a roster in the SEC. Well, the Big Ten is more of a developmental league. You know, they get maybe second tier recruits and then they develop them into being first tier players. Well, a lot of these metrics, especially the predictive metrics, they really reward you for recruiting well and for bringing in high level transfer classes, when that hasn't necessarily been the most efficient way to generate good teams in the modern college football era. So I think that they're a little bit behind in some ways in the way that they build stuff like the FPI. Now, I'll say, ESPN also has the SP Plus ratings from Bill Connolly. I think that those do a really good job of trying to be flexible and nuanced and try to build in some new expectations to perform at a higher level. And look, every single company, let's be clear, also has like some of their versions of it, and all of them are complicated. It's never been harder, I think, to do projected rankings than it is right now. But again, like, I do think that when you are looking at schedules, when you are looking at recruiting, when you are looking at things like that, it's very easy to kind of set up and be like, these are the teams that are spending X amount of dollars, and that's the only thing we're going to take into account.
Is there anybody who turned off their notifications faster than Bill Connolly when he saw that this was coming out, knowing that he was waiting for it somehow?
That's not my one, man. That's not my one.
No, SP Plus, man. So I know you've got a story out that you put out there less than an hour ago. Drew Mestamaker, Oklahoma State. We're fresh off Big 12 Media Days. I guess before we get into Mestamaker specifically or OSU, what were your impressions coming out of last week, man? I thought that the commissioner kind of bungled the whole tech situation right out of the gates and not answering questions and just not being transparent and just not being prepared, it seemed like, to take that head on. To say this is not the time when this is absolutely the time to address this. I was just puzzled by that, Shahan, but anything else stand out to you about the couple of days there in Frisco?
Yeah, it was interesting. I think that it was very much a decision, not just by Brett Yormark, but by some other, by the league and by its members, to kind of be like, we don't want this to be the driving conversation at media days. Now, like you said, I think that when you say now's not the time to have this conversation, well, you better darn well give us the time that it's going to be, right? But I do also think that, one, I mean, if you're going to be dealing with, I don't want to even go as far as calling it scandal, but like, when you're dealing with a situation, like, probably the first guy that you want out there talking on your behalf is Joey McGuire, right? Like, I think that he was able to largely neutralize it. I mean, the thing that I've said, and people can believe me or not, I don't think that it's that contentious behind the scenes, honestly. Like, I think that everybody understands why they did what they did. I think that the Big 12 office was like, yeah, you can try it, but we're not going to let you get away with it. And I think the Texas Tech was like, we're going to try it. And we also understand why the Big 12 decided that they needed to sue. And so, I think that there's less hurt feelings in the back rooms than maybe people think. Now, obviously, that doesn't change what the fan reaction is and what some of the sort of more fan media type reaction has been. And so certainly I don't think that anybody would have chosen that the clip of the Texas Tech radio guy would be the thing coming out. I don't think that's necessarily ideal for anybody, but overall, I think that it did largely accomplish its purpose. I don't think that the conversation was dominated by Brendan Sorsby. I don't even think it was necessarily dominated by Texas Tech. I think they were able to kind of neutralize it to an extent, though. Again, like, I do feel like there's more that they could have said to maybe grease the wheels and make it a little easier.
Yeah, I thought your mark by the way he responded. I agree, Craig. It just kind of set a tone.
Just plead the legal fifth. Like say hey man, we got a lawsuit that's still active. We can't talk about it.
There you go. That's all you had to say.
But yeah, to say this is not the time. It's like, bro, it's media days. Like absolutely. But to your point, Joey knocked it out of the park. I thought like he was at his best for media days. Like he was with us 8 a.m. day number 1 and didn't avoid a single question and answered them all head on. And I was just mightily impressed by how he just took that on. And I do think that by the end of it, fans notwithstanding, some media, whatever, still have their opinions. But I think he did a bang up job in Frisco.
I did too. Yeah. I thought, hey, you did a big feature, did you not? Was it last spring or summer on Cody Campbell? I think really on the whole program, but you dove deep into him. What are your thoughts on how he's handled the last 2 to 3 months?
I think that a lot of the stuff that Texas Tech is dealing with right now is more a response to what he said than necessarily what the program's tried to say. And look, I mean, I think that like he is such a unique figure in college football right now, and not just because of the money and influence or other places where even you have loud boosters or whatever. It's also the leadership and kind of push that he's done on the congressional front, right? Obviously, he's very close allies with President Trump. He's been a huge part of trying to get some of this legislation passed. And I think that he's finding himself in a very difficult position where he's both trying to advocate for everything that Texas Tech wants and trying to put them in the best position to win as he can, while also trying to, on the other hand, try to make the case that, again, he's trying to save college athletics. And I think that those two things are becoming more at odds than they've ever been. And so, I think that it's been a good idea for him. The past probably 3 or 4 weeks, he's been a lot quieter, I guess you could say, on that front. But I mean, again, look, I think that for him, like, we've all of us in this conversation have spent some time around billionaires in the past, and like billionaires do love their ideas, and they think a lot of the time, man, we got the solutions to everything and we got it all figured out. And sometimes I think that you need to go through the process of being shot down in some ways to understand what your limits are. So it's fascinating to kind of sit here at this point. But I mean, again, like he is still very much in the ear of people in Washington. He's still very much in the ear of people in Lubbock, Texas.
So you, with all that's been said, you did have your power rankings come out after media days. You're still on that Tech train, right? As far as the best team in the league. I mean, BYU is pretty convincing, man. Especially when you talk to them, they're confident. They've got some mojo about them. But I'm with you, man. I still think Tech, despite all that's happened, is the best team in the league on paper right now.
Yeah, I think that there's a clear top 2 to me, Texas Tech and BYU. I think that it's totally reasonable to flip them, have BYU 1, but right now I'm rolling with Tech. Look, this was never a roster that was going to be about the quarterback, right? Like they are still going to be great defensively after bringing in Adam Trick, Trey White, some really, really good players on the defensive line. They've got the best linebacking core in the Big 12, if not the country, by the way, in Ben Roberts, Austin Romaine, John Curry. And then on offense, like again, forget the quarterback position. This team might be the best rushing offense in the Big 12 with 3 awesome running backs and an offensive line that I actually think is the unsung hero of this upcoming team. So there's so much around the quarterback position to be excited about. And by the way, like Will Hammond might be pretty good. Like Will Hammond is a talented football player, obviously a superstar player at Hutto High School, threw for 700 yards in a game at one point, went to the Elite 11, really impressed people, got some late offers and stuck it with Texas Tech in the end. So it's really not a talent question for the quarterback position. It's going to be more of an experience position after not going through spring and also not going through fall camp. How quickly can Hammond get up to speed? But look, if he is up to speed by the time that December rolls around, this is a team that I think won't miss Brendan Sorsby at all.
So sticking with quarterback, Drew Mestemaker, wrote a little bit about him. He's been very high profile this offseason.
Are you going to bring up the quote that made up his mind when he was being recruited?
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, no. So we can get to that quote,
it's a great
Sean.
quote.
But what did you learn, or what did you think in putting this together, and what stood out to you about the process of writing this story?
Yeah, I remember back a year ago, right about this time too. I went up to North Texas. Obviously, it's not far from where I live, and I've known Eric Morris since he was at Incarnate Word in 2019. And so, I was speaking with UNT's SID Doug Waters, and he was like, "Yeah, obviously, like it's a pretty cool story with Drew." I was like, "Here, we'll give it." I told Drew, like, "You're going to talk to this reporter from CBS, so just get practice so you know what to say at the press conference next week," because he had never really talked to media in his life before. And for him to be here now as one of the top transfer quarterbacks, most productive quarterback in college football, new face of Oklahoma State University, like it was a pretty cool moment, to get a chance to catch up with him again. But what he said was simple, right? Is like, I had Eric Morris take a chance on me as a walk-on coming out of high school after not starting a single game in high school. And he stuck with me. He helped teach me and show me the way. And to me, it made it a really easy decision ultimately, even though he was recruited by everybody. Like, he told me he was, getting flown out. He was going on campus visits and like everybody wanted him. But ultimately, it was that opportunity to stay with Eric Morris. And also, by the way, bring a number of his high-profile teammates from North Texas that made this decision pretty natural for him.
The quote that you have in the story is a great story, Shahan. When he called Morris because he was getting bombarded with offers, and he was like, "Man," but they intrigued him, the other offers. And Morris said, "Don't get caught up in all the hype, and don't break my heart," and hung up. And meant to make it like, "What can I do now? I can't." It was just an Eric Morris. It worked. It was very short and sweet, no threats, other than the fact he'd break his heart. I thought that was pretty cool. Just kind of fun in this day and age that sometimes things get to be so serious.
No, I mean, and like, Eric is so great. Again, I've known him for years at this point. He just does such a good job of like understanding the moment, right? And obviously it translates to the football field too. But he just knows, like, man, if I'm begging and pleading, like, it's already over, right? Like, I don't need to do all of that. I just got to let him know, like, you know what? We want him. We care about him. You know what the deal is. You need to think about it. And to, again, know your quarterback as a person that well, I think that says a lot about him. And, one thing that I talked with him about that didn't make the story was that, Eric Morris was very transparent through this whole process about, like, like, I don't want my players to figure out about any rumors of me leaving anywhere except for me. Right. And I actually talked to Drew, and he was like, "Man, we really respected that through that whole process." He was so transparent. He told us everything. And he was the first coach to announce that he was leaving, even though the season was still going on. But all of his players were like, "Look, we knew, we understood." And I think that transparency was also such a huge part of why Drew Messmaker knew it was a no-brainer to follow him.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Good to see you. Shahan Jayaraja with us. Normally Tuesdays, on with us today. The stories about both Kevin Jennings. Do you have another one coming up you want to tease? Another feature?
Not for a few weeks, but the Waco crowd might like the one that's coming.
All right, there we go. It's Shahan Jayaraja with us from CBS Sports, and appreciate his time.
Yeah, good to see Shahan at Big 12 Media Days. I don't know if I ever really got a chance to say what's up because you're all just sort of walking around doing your own thing and doing interviews, but got to see a good number of people around there, and really enjoy the grouping of media, kind of the usual suspects that cover this league and that are at an event like that. So, yeah, I think it's interesting. Well, first, good for Kevin Jennings to get some pub. It does sort of feel like, as much as SMU's been a really good team these last couple of years and even in the playoff, that they're still sort of just, I don't know if afterthoughts too harsh of a word, but kind of that to a degree. Like, they're not one of the first 2 or 3, 4 teams you mentioned from the state of Texas. You're still mentioning Texas and A&M. You're definitely mentioning Texas Tech. And I still think probably TCU gets more respect than they do, even though they've done more as of late than TCU has. Haven't climbed to as high of highs because TCU did play for a national title, and we know how that went, which is the big bummer for them, is that national title appearance is this massive asterisk that it's like, it just sucks for them that's how it turned out. But I do think, despite the Georgia game, that TCU is still more top of mind. And then maybe you get to SMU. But I don't know. There's still probably some people that think of Houston or think of Baylor. And then they go, oh, yeah, and SMU's in the ACC. So I think that's a product of them just kind of being a team that geographically doesn't make sense. You kind of have to remind yourself that they're over there. But then when you realize it, you're like, oh, damn, they're doing really well and they're thriving. And they're definitely a program that's on the come up. And Kevin Jennings is a big part of the reason why. So I'm glad to see him getting his flowers. He's a really good player. I think, unfortunately for him, what probably sticks with most people is that playoff game, though, a couple years ago. And he was not at his best in that game, and they were not good in that game. They got it taken to him by Penn State. So hopefully he can leave a better lasting memory when all is said and done. For the people out there that haven't been paying particularly close attention, I know what he's done. He's a really, really good player and a really good young man from all indications. So I hope that he gets to put that on full display this year for the Ponies. And for the rest of it there, I mean, Drew Mestemaker's been such a great story this offseason. Hope that he can live up to some of, I mean, he went from an unknown to now, like, most everybody's probably sick of hearing about the guy almost in a way. Yeah. Like, who is this Mestemaker kid y'all keep talking about? There's no way he's going to come up from North Texas. We saw what North Texas did at the end of the year, like, that kind of thing. So I think he's got a lot to prove, but it's a great story. And I think it's going to be even more widely talked about because I think that he's going to go in there along with his teammates and really turn the ship around in pretty short order. Now, beating Oregon right out of the gates there early on, I'm not anticipating that, but they're going to win some Big 12 games, which is not what they've done the last couple of years. It's just a matter of how many they're going to win.
No, they will. They will figure out what they're going to do on defense. Just get a stop or two might help, or maybe even get 2, 3, or 4 because they got none basically last year. When we come back, Mike Chodron, he's written a book called Agent Confidential. You could also listen to it. You can read it. He's next. I've kind of watched his timeline about negotiating contracts and a pretty interesting note about coaches or coaching searches in college football and really what is going on no matter what you might see or hear. He's next. We appreciate your time. David Craig and Craig Smoak. This is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. I went by there, was it on Friday, and was going to go get my oil changed. I'd gotten a text from them, and it was time to service my car. And I looked at the mileage. I went, yeah, I don't think it is. What happened is the last time I was supposed to get my car checked and all of the bells and whistles checked from Alan Samuels, I went in about a month early. So it was done. And they could have said, no, here, we got an easy one here. Let's bring it through and get him all fixed up and change the oil or check out this and that and charge him X amount of money. No, they told me, you're not due for that. I drove away. That was nice because I didn't have to worry about it. They had a few things to do. So I appreciate what they do in the service department. Appreciate what Ted Teague does as the general manager and CEO of Alan Samuels. Appreciate as well what they have when it comes to the sales department. Those guys and the women too are always so friendly, always helpful. Yeah, they want to sell you a vehicle, whether it's what Ram does, trucks, oh my goodness, all sorts of incentives and options available, or the Jeep SUVs, the Grand Cherokee, the Cherokee, or the Wagoneer. And of course, if you want some that's pre-owned, like I bought in 2020, they have that for you as well. Drop by Alan Samuels, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco. Come by and let's be friends.
It's in the major leagues for 24 years. And let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Celebrate American value and American quality during the Red, White, and Blue sales event at Richard Car. You want a Richard Car GMC? Get your Sierra now and save $13,000 or more on every truck in stock with trade-in. Save $14,000 on a 2026 GMC Sierra SLE Crew Cab. Or save $13,500 on a 2026 GMC Sierra Pro, now under $29,000. Drive American quality and get American savings during the Red, White, and Blue sales event at Richard Car.
Richard Car, they have the truck for you.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
This 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Stonewood Dental, your one-stop shop for your dental needs, specializing in teeth cleaning, fillings, crowns, sealants, root canals, IV sedation, extractions, implants, bridges, dentures, full mouth restorations, and bioaesthetic dentistry. Our priority is your comfort from the moment you walk through the front door. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoak and David Smoak.
I mentioned this before the break that I've been following Mike Chodron. It's Agent Confidential, and on his Twitter feed, it's, how do you say, Faux? Jimmy Sexton, F-A-U-X, is that right? I know Bo Pelini has a fake, someone has a fake Twitter to talk like he's Bo Pelini. But really good information on contract negotiations, even for college athletes, for coaching searches and more. And the book, Agent Confidential, which I love the name of that book, and I again, got a copy from Mike, and we want to share him with you today on this show. Mike, thank you very much for your time with Craig and also David. So if you don't mind, I want to start off with what made you use that faux Jimmy Sexton title in your Twitter feed? I love it.
Well, first, guys, thank you very much for having me on. It's just a real pleasure to be on with you. One real quick note, tomorrow is my son Andrew's birthday, so happy birthday, Andrew. He is listening today with my grandson Luke. So hello, Andrew and Luke. I'm glad you're listening. The faux Jimmy Sexton thing came about as a goof. It really came about as the faux Pelini thing, and I thought it would be funny to create an agent persona very similar to the faux Pelini thing. And I actually had a different Twitter site with a big following and then got caught up in two-factor identification. So I had to change to the faux Jimmy Sexton from another one. So that's really where it started. But what started happening is people started asking me business questions. And I have about 40 years of business experience, including private equity, as well as some experience helping some coaches who didn't have representation, helping them with some representation in the past. So a lot of time on sidelines and in planning meetings. So all of that we kind of brought together to write the book. But it started off as just a goof.
Let's start with the coaching business. Everyone, we discussed what's happening with college athletes and NIL, the money, et cetera. But really, one of the things that really changed a lot of mindsets was like the transfer portal. Well, why players shouldn't be able to leave? Well, coaches leave any damn time they want, if there's a buyout or not. So let's just say a top 25 program as a coaching search, either a coach is left or maybe they weren't very good. He got fired or he's retired. What is the process? How quickly does that start? Has it already started even before a decision is made?
Yeah. So, you know, what the public sees, guys, is the last 10%.
Yeah.
90% has happened ahead of time, and the process starts months in advance. Sometimes even years in advance, but usually a lot of months in advance. And it's those unofficial conversations. What would it take? What would the number need to be? What would that look like? Would your client have any interest? That gives the coaches plausible deniability. I mean, Kalen DeBoer recently said, "Oh, I never talked to Michigan." Well, of course he didn't talk to Michigan. Jimmy Sexton talked to Michigan. And so that's really how it works. So there's so much of it is put together behind the scenes ahead of time with what the terms might be, what a buyout would look like, all of that. It's well in advance. I mean, coaching searches don't take 72 hours. They take a lot longer than that. It's just the public doesn't see it.
Does every athletic director or director of athletics, do they all have a list either in their, like a file up here? I've had ADs tell me they actually have an index card. It's always in their pocket because of, you never know when a coach is about to leave.
They do. They actually all do have the list, and you know, it's sitting in a drawer. They sometimes hope they don't have to open, but they open it up, and usually the list is a very short list of names. Some are aspirational with no chance because you got to keep the booster money coming in. And some are ones you've already had conversations with agents or intermediaries about them coming. And then, you know, there's others that are just on the list to make it look like a national search. So pretty much all of your top programs, you know, in that upper right-hand side of the door of your desk, there is the list.
Mike, in today's day of college athletics, which seemed like every day, I saw another story today on the 5 years to play how many, 11 players out of what other state now has now sued the NCAA. From your perspective, it seems like this is never going to end, no matter how settlement, no matter Congress, no matter saving. It seemed like it's never ending. Is it going to be ending?
Probably not. I mean, there's a chapter in the book we call the NIL, you know, the portal broke time, because it allows players to move at any time, all the time. But guys, I think it's important to note, basically what's happening now is it's just out in public what the money is doing. Yeah, the transfer rules changed a little bit, but the money has always been changing hands. And if you allow me to tell a quick story, back in the 1990s, I was in the banking business in Mississippi, and I covered some branches in retail investments down in South Mississippi. And I was in a small branch one day, 1992. And a loan officer called me in his office. He knew I was a big sports fan, and he showed me a loan document, and it was for a Chevy Cavalier for the local lawyer. And I remember thinking, boy, oh, what's his name's not doing very well, you know, if this is what he's having to do. And the loan officer said, Mike, it's not for the lawyer. It's for that 6'7" power forward down here at the high school that's going to, and I'm going to say, an unnamed SEC school to protect the innocent. So the money was changing hands even then. It's just come out in public. And what the portal has done is just sped everything up. And you know, the real interesting thing when you compare coaching searches to the portal, coaching searches still only have a limited number of parties. You've got the coach, you've got the agent, you've got the university, and maybe the foundation, right? Pretty nice, neat, clean. Boy, with players and the portal and NIL, boy, you've got so many different moving parts. You've got agents, you've got handlers, you've got family, you've got kids, you've got coaches. You've got so many different moving parts, and it's completely liquid. So while they're happening in parallel, they're really two very different negotiations that are taking place. And the bottom line that I make a point in Twitter a lot, as well as in the book, is the governance can't keep up with the economics. I said the other day on a radio show that the governance keeping up with economics is like an offensive tackle trying to cover a slot receiver in space.
Yeah,
just can't do it.
So in this day and age, you can basically say whatever you want, or ask for whatever you want, or pay an athlete whatever you want. Now, again, there's also that commission that is trying to say, okay, these are real or not. So let's go back before then. Before, what was it, 20 or 21, whenever NIL became a thing.
Right.
How many times, how often were players getting paid, in your opinion, at the larger schools? And was it a bunch of money like we see now?
So at the top schools, they were pretty much all getting paid. I mean, we heard about the $100 handshakes and the Bear Bryant eras, right? But as you go up, so they were getting paid. I mean, I watched a podcast with Mac Jones the other day, Bussing with the Boys, the former quarterback in Alabama, and he was talking about, no, I didn't get near what the good players got when they came in. So pretty much all of them are getting paid in some way, but the money wasn't anywhere near like it is now. I mean, the money has just gone nuts. The intent with NIL was sign a few jerseys, do a few sessions at a car dealership and make a little money. And now it's competing with pro sports with the money. So they were getting paid, but not at the level it is now.
Do you do NIL agreements for players or athletes now?
No, I do not. I worked with a couple of big name coaches now. One I can name in the book, one I can't, when they did not have representation. So I made some calls on their behalf. They now have representation from that. But I do not have any experience doing actual NIL contracts, other than I have friends who are coaches who I talk to about them. But I did not do any of those contracts.
Has NIL made it easier to recruit or more difficult?
I think it depends on if you have a billionaire donor. In the case of Texas Tech, I use Cody Campbell as a great example. And Texas Tech, kind of bought their way in, which I think is fabulous. So I think it has made recruiting easier if you have funds. But if you look at, say, the Power 6 schools, boy, it's become to where they're the AA, AAA programs now for the power conferences. So it's probably as difficult to recruit. You still have to come up with the deals. There are just so many more moving parts. I mean, think about what Terry Saban said to Nick the day that he was getting ready to leave Alabama. And, it had been about development. It had been about education, blah, 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 whether you agree with it or not. That was his story. And then it became about how much playing time I'm going to get and how much money you're going to pay me. And Terry Saban said to Nick right before he quit, what are we doing here?
Mm-hmm.
And the game just changed. And that's why some of the coaches had to move on. It just wasn't Saban's thing. And we've seen some basketball coaches leave. So bottom line is, I think if you have resources, it's probably easier to recruit now.
Mike Shodron with us on 365 Sports. So let's get to one of the coaches' contracts. Let's say who do you deal with? Is it the AD? Mm-hmm. Is it who is it? An attorney for the coach? You're the one representing. Who is it you have to deal with?
So it's usually the athletic director, and then at the big schools they have some sort of money guy, the CFO of the athletic department, almost always. But there's mitigating factors in there, because you've got, a lot of these coaching contracts will have performance clauses in them. So, you get paid so much to go speak at AFLAC or whatever. Right. So there's a lot of different factors, but usually the coordinator is the athletic director, and the money guy, be it the CFO, director of finance, or whatever, within the university, is the one controlling it. And don't underestimate the role of the agents. So much of that is worked out really before anything official comes out. The terms are pretty well worked out.
All right. So you have a lot in this book. I saw a tweet from, I think today, everybody heard Rich Rodriguez say college football should move to a 60-team Super League. What everyone else missed, this isn't really about 60 teams. It's about where the business of college football may be headed. New episode of Agent Confidential. What everyone else missed is live.
Right. So So that's something I'm doing right now with the media days happening, is what everyone else missed. And in the case of Rich Rod, he's talking about regional rivalries, which is great, less travel, which is great, and he's talking about a 60-team Super League. What I say everybody missed was, who's going to make the rules? Who's going to enforce the rules? Who's going to negotiate the contracts? Who's in charge? Because if you think about it, guys, college football right now is the only billion-dollar, it's about a $15 billion a year business, and nobody can tell you who the CEO is, who's in charge. So that was my point, in that I think that until you know who's in charge, all of this other stuff, doesn't really matter.
And then, Mike, there's also a lot of teams that feel like they want to be in a super league and would most likely be included, who are the ones that are right now are stretching. They're kind of stretching the rules, they're putting their toe across the line or crossing the line in the sand. So a super league will then have to hammer them, right? And otherwise it doesn't make any difference to have one.
No, they will absolutely have to hammer them. And I think that's, one of the points I make in the book is that the middle gets cut out first. I mean, if you look at the way private equity does business, they streamline and they cut out the middle performers. They get rid of the bad performers. They cut out the middle, and then they enhance the strong performers. And that's what really the model of college football with the Super League is moving towards, and that you'll have, be it 60 teams or whatever. But guys, I tell you what, I think we're still a long ways from that coming together. I mean, if you look at, and I appreciate the SEC comments earlier, I think you have to look at the money on that, because ESPN is pretty much in bed with the SEC. I think there's some bias there. But the SEC spring meetings in Destin this year, usually the SEC comes out of there, and buddy, they are in lockstep.
Yep.
Everybody is pointing in the same direction. They came out of there, Tennessee and Vanderbilt, we want 24 teams. Alabama and Georgia, Texas, we only want 12. They're not in lockstep anymore. So, and that's the SEC. So I can't imagine how you're going to get 60 teams together without somebody being a very strong leader at the top that can coordinate that, be it Tony from the Big Ten, or Greg Sankey, or whomever.
Yeah, and all the media deals are not all aligned the same. So that's going to make it interesting how they can do that if they have new, like the Big Ten is going to have another monstrous deal, the SEC. Yeah. So, and this is just to sports fans. If there is a super league, give me the number of teams that would be included, because some that are a part of the Big Ten and the SEC, in my opinion, are going to get cut out. They're going to cut the fat. Just no matter they've been able to hold on to the coattails or whatever, they would not be included, would they?
No, I don't think they would. I mean, I think, look, I personally think Texas Tech wants to be in the SEC West, and there's not really a West anymore, but I think that's, who will be there. I don't know exactly how many teams, but a gun to my head, I would say probably 48 teams. And then I think you certainly look at a much bigger playoff. But one thing, it all comes down to follow the money, guys, because part of the reason the SEC is against a larger playoff is there's more mouths at the trough. And it's not necessarily going to be double the amount of money. So I think that's what the SEC is fighting for right now. So some teams are going to be cut out. Some teams are going to be brought in. It's going to be really interesting to see, how that all shakes out. But until we have a clear governance model of who is in charge and what the rules are, it's going to be awfully hard to put any of that together.
When you wrote the book, and again, it's also available on Kindle, Audible, and then obviously a paperback book. When you wrote the book, the title of the book is what caught my attention. I can't remember. There used to be, there was a book like 25 years ago about Nebraska football where it was Big Red Confidential. And of course, I love Nebraska, and that was the name of the book. So how did you come up with that name?
I wish I would tell you that it was just bolt out of the blue brilliance, but it really wasn't. I just wanted to come up with a title that told the story of what we were trying to do in the book. And so, I wrote the book in January and February, and I actually have another business book that I'd written ahead of time. And I put this one in front of it because I thought that the other book is probably better than this one about business, but this one I thought had more oomph, because of college football. And sure enough, it does. But it really was just, I wanted a catchy title that would make people think, okay, so, what's really going on behind the scenes? Because the goal in the book was just to pull the curtain back on what's really happening on the sport we all love. It's still got the rivalries and the pageantry and all of that good stuff that we love. But once you pull the curtain back and see what's happening behind the scenes, you just won't look at it the same again. Still love it, but you'll look at it differently.
Last two questions. Do you know a bunch of the super agents? Have you discussed business with any of them?
No, not many of them. I know a few of them. I have a couple that have reached out to me that said they really enjoy what I'm having to say on that, but I do not talk contracts with agents per se. I still have a day job in the testing, inspection, certification business, so I'm really just a fan. But I've spent a lot of time on sidelines and helping coaches. So there's some good stories in the book about access and how I got the information.
Well, I enjoyed it. Thanks for sending me the link you did, because I was able to listen to it while I was trying to prep for the show as well, Mike. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Guys, it was really nice being with you. Thank you so much.
You too. Mike Shodrin, Agent Confidentials, the name of the book. You can get it on Kindle, audiobook, and also you can, again, get it on, just go straight to Amazon, and we appreciate his time. Just kind of a nice, refreshing look at the business of from a different view. And the book name is what caught my attention immediately.
Yeah, I did. I just didn't have much to add on to questions that you had there, but was interested in listening to him and curious about that book as well. So hopefully people go and check that out. And I was going to say, I kind of laugh. You say kind of a different look at the business side. I think we look at the business side quite a bit, but yeah, a different angle to it all. And that's as much part of the conversation now as it's ever been. That's for sure. So glad he could join us and give us his 2 cents on a variety of issues going on right now. And what a enormous amount of, I guess, just cottage industries, but also not cottage industries, but people that have become involved or analyzing college sports world versus like 5 or 10 years ago, just because of all of the different things that have cropped up. It's been, if we ever get on the other side of it, it's going to be really amazing to see like what all we went through there for like a good 10-year period of all this craziness and change and all the different legal obstacles and fights and scandals and controversies. And hell, I'm only talking about like 2026. I mean, basically we start off with Trinidad Chambliss and eligibility, getting to Brendan Sorsby, and then, get into whatever the hell the other second half of this year has waiting for us. But there's been no shortage of lawyers needed and legal expertise needed. That's for damn sure.
I can name, and I probably can, I'd probably stop at 3 or 4, but the amount of people that are on Twitter that are attorneys. We've mentioned Tom Mars. We've mentioned Darren Heitner. We've had great guests, Scott Schneider, Ryan Mulvaney. And then you even have some now that are legally just brilliant, with Amanda Kristovich at what she does with front office sports. They have saved me a lot of time from making phone calls. I can text a lot of them. They're really, really good at what they do. Mike has also been on WJOX in Birmingham, TNT football podcast, Big 12 Today. And today he is and has been on with us at 365 Sports. All right. World Cup. Rez, I got a couple of, I got a couple of nuggets on the World Cup. First of all, there's an image out of all the teams that we started with, of course, in North America. The World Cup is down to, Craig, in case you didn't know, 4 semifinalists. And those 4 semifinalists are France and Spain, and then England and Argentina. These are perhaps not only the 4 who are left, but the 4 best teams. I mean, you probably could have made a lot of money, but then again, the odds of these guys all making the Final Four were pretty good. That is what's next. And in fact, AT&T Stadium, we're calling it Dallas Stadium according to FIFA, will be July 14th, which is tomorrow, France and Spain. And then, of course, the next day in Atlanta, in Georgia, will be England against Argentina. And Messi in Argentina, although he wasn't the one that got him into the semis, he was to get him all the way there and still really good. All 4 of these teams have been unbelievable, and they will all now decide the Final Four.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what this event is that you're talking about.
It's soccer. It's a
what's
sport called football.
We've been talking football.
Yeah, I know we have, but I know that after the United States was beaten, bloodied by Belgium, that a lot of people went off the range. They went off the range. They just left.
Well, it was not the greatest exit. I mean, first of all, you got your ass kicked, and then you got your ass kicked following like this life raft that was thrown your way politically that you didn't take advantage of, which is what I said the entire time was like, regardless of your opinion on the whole Balogun situation, what did I say? What was the one thing that I said about that was regardless of how you feel about it, they better sure as hell make that worth it. Like all of the hand wringing over whether it was right or wrong or against the spirit of the sport, but totally right up FIFA's alley. And they did it. They turned around and they did it. They got beat convincingly. And it took a lot of wind out of the sails. And I feel like I'm seeing a lot more or a lot less World Cup talk now. I think also part of that is just that there's not just the U.S., but a lot of countries that are no longer involved. So they don't care as much anymore either. I mean, you had 1 point 20 plus teams that were all very active and fan bases and countries. And now you've had less than 10 here for the last several days. So I think that's a large part of it as well. I think the U.S. not being involved certainly takes some of the fun out of it for us, because when they were involved, like I was listening to the World Cup podcast and see what they thought about Team USA. Now I don't give a damn what they have to say about any of these teams, honestly. I'll be tuned in because I like the pageantry of soccer, especially at a very high level, whether it's World Cup or it's Premier League or any of the other versions, La Liga, Bundesliga, etc. You got really high caliber players and teams and a really cool sport with a lot of history. It's always going to be good stuff. So I'll be tuned in for the semifinals. But yeah, my casual fan interest level has gone down tremendously since Team USA's exit last week. But these are great teams with big name stars, and there's 4 of them right there. 4 of the biggest, best, well-known soccer players and talented players in the world. So it ought to be great. It ought to be great. I mean, England, Argentina, can't wait to see the fan reactions from that one. But France, Spain ought to be hellacious. I know everybody feels like France is the big favorite now at this point. But yeah, ought to be a lot of fun. I saw Freddie's back as of today. Freddie's back.
I saw him back on Twitter. Yeah.
He said what we kind of suspected, that he had a lot of haters that came out of the woodwork, started questioning their motives. And, I could kind of see that because it did become like one real big advertisement there for a while. Like once one company realized, oh, we can get free advertising on this guy's account and get millions of views, like we're all going to send him stuff, right? And then it became almost like an infomercial for American products. And so I can see where some people were kind of pointing holes in that, but I don't know. It seemed genuine to me. I know there's also people turned off by the fact that it wasn't his first time in the U.S. and they were under that impression. But it sounds like, to no one's surprise, certain people took it overboard and made it way more personal than it ever should have been.
You know who those people are, right?
The same people that always ruin the fun for everybody else, just total losers in life, unhappy, miserable pieces
so you can see them flame out.
Pieces of garbage that just want to make everybody as miserable as they are. Yeah, I know those people. But I also understand kind of side-eyeing things from time to time and wondering, like, is this an advertising scheme? Because it kind of felt that way after a while. It's like, damn, he's getting every company under the sun sending him stuff.
It never did, maybe because I'm naive and I was just caught up in the innocence of it. Maybe it wasn't. I loved it, and then I hated all of a sudden he disappeared because he got attacked.
It went from feeling kind of natural to then it was like companies forcing their way into the story.
You're right.
Yeah.
But to me, the one that was the best, you got Visit Bucky's, was when J.J. Watt set him up in Houston. I don't think that was commercialized.
I don't think it was, but I almost feel like that was the beginning of the end for it.
Yeah, no, it's like, oh my God, he's going to get 100,000. Yeah.
At that point, like he'd already been getting all this stuff, and then all of a sudden here's J.J. Watt rolling out the red carpet, and then I think that led to everybody else kind of doing that. So they went from these guys who were kind of getting the the inside tour or the gift and the VIP pass in certain places, like all of a sudden it became about them in a way, which I wasn't against, and I didn't like turn on these guys, Freddie and his traveling party. But yeah, I feel like JJ Watt, or maybe JJ Watt was just like the last thing that occurred where it felt sort of innocent before every person that turned and then made it a thing where he felt the need to get off the internet entirely for the last week or two. It's a shame though, because that was a really fun story that I was not surprised at all to see go sideways, because you just have your miserable people out there that want to ruin everybody's good time. And then I think there were some businesses that just overly commercialized and made it not feel as sort of authentic and genuine. Like it's one thing to, you show up in the stadium, like the people recognize you and they're like, hey man, we're going to give you a free. And then it's another thing when they're like sending all this crap to your hotel room, like everywhere you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
I know.
The big logo on
I guess I am very naive in a lot of ways. I am. Not in every way, but I am in many ways, and I just kind of wanted to believe in the fairy tale.
I think it was legitimate. I just think that it got taken to like an extreme to where, it was less palpable or genuinely believable as like this kind of authentic American thing. It all of a sudden was like businesses just trying to cram their way into the Freddie story to get their 1 million page views. But regardless of that, JJ Watt, I feel like that was kind of like the crowning moment. And then after his Houston stay is when like people started turning, I guess those who did, and then he was gone shortly thereafter. But I'm glad that he's back. He was a big part of the beginning of this whole thing and, and a fun part of it, and part of kind of doing more as a non-American to kind of instill some patriotism in a way at a time when I feel like we really needed it as well. And help kind of create that perfect storm of the World Cup being here and everybody being like, oh, it is kind of cool. Like this whole being American
especially
thing.
With some of the gloom and doom leading into it. Like, there's no
He
hotel.
definitely was a big reason for why that turned out to be better than what people expected it to be. So I'm glad that he's going to be here to close things out, hopefully.
I did see it this morning, and I was like, hell yeah, man. What can we do for you here in Waco, but you're not coming here?
No, he's not coming here.
All right.
Oh, guess what? Chip and Joanna.
Yeah, they'll build you a new home or renovate a completely new place.
Yeah.
When we come back, Dave Bartu, College Football Matrix. He's fun to have on the show, and analytics and much more about how you look at the index, how you look at the rankings or the ratings and all of that and more. We'll have that. And then also a couple of other pictures of 365 Sports family from around the country or even overseas. Craig and David Smoak, 365 Sports, and Rez, Garrett, Logan, Andrew, and also Houston running the mothership back in one moment. North Star Funding Partners. Have you heard about the new IRA? Well, if you haven't, you need to learn about the new IRA because they can help you help yourself plan for what you need when it comes to retirement. Let's say you're in your 30s or 40s and yet you make good money, $150,000 or so a year, but you just don't feel like you're doing enough to make sure that your family and generations to come are going to be set up. Here's what you can do. The Insured Retirement Advantage, a solution for younger, high-income clients, small business owners who want to save money for retirement, and a strategy designed just for you to provide the opportunity for guaranteed tax-free income, retirement income, legacy protection, and as I mentioned, also do it efficiently, capital efficiency. It all without needing ultra-high net income to qualify. You don't have to be like in the very highest bracket. You can make good money. It all depends on what you think is good money. If you're happy, that's great. If you put money away for the future, that's great. But if you feel like you're falling behind, contact North Star Funding Partner, 623-256. There's the number, 6902, or go to northstarfundingpartners.com.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide. Affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years. And let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
From the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the Smoak Show. Presented by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with David Craig and Craig Smoak.
He has been a traveling man. He's back. Dave Bartu, College Football Matrix, joins us. Craig Smoak and David Craig on 365 Sports. Dave, it was funny. I'm sharing this from, yeah, that's awesome, to even panic on these college football, whatever it's called, rankings, ratings. We went over it in a segment earlier today. Does any of that, with you being an analytical metrics guy, getting it on your radar?
No, it's about the equivalent of spring football, NBA G League, Summer League, it's a zero for me. So, I mean, I get it. We got to have it out there because it stirs the conversation. Mm-hmm. It keeps college football on the forefront when we're talking about rankings. But ultimately, if you're a college football fan, if you in any way, shape, or form think that preseason or early season rankings affect playoff committee outcomes, it doesn't. I've been working with committee members the entire time it's been there, and unequivocally, those rankings are completely separate, and preseason has absolutely nothing to do with it. The preseason is simply there, in my opinion, for narrative. And I think we're already seeing some of the narrative change this month.
How?
Well, so in the playoffs, because ultimately, I think when a season boils down, the ultimate thing that seems to always be talked about is the playoff rankings and who's in and who's out. Mm-hmm. And that's what our 12-game regular season and championship game boils down to. So, with the SEC going to 9 conference games, what we should be seeing for the narrative is that suddenly the SEC has all the toughest strength of schedules in college football because they're now at 9 games. And a lot of this, they're living on the past. I get it. 4, 5, 6 years ago, those Georgia, those Alabama teams, the depth they had was wicked. The depth, heck, the SEC had was very, very good. The depth in the SEC now is a fraction of what it used to be. They don't play defense anymore, and it's not even the best coached conference in the country. So I think a lot of the narrative is living off what the SEC used to be, not what they are today. And so I expect, in order to promote the SEC, which the ESPN has a lot of money in, you are going to start seeing them talk about strength of schedule, even though strength of schedule has been last on the list for the playoff committee, last on the list for the BCS for the entirety of this century. Suddenly, because the SEC might be losing more games, which they will, they added a 9th conference game, so they added 9 extra losses across the board to their 16 teams. You are going to see people trying to talk, especially ESPN, FPI, you name it. Anything connected to ESPN, it's going to be strength of schedule, trying to get more of their 9-3 and 8-4 teams that lost a bunch of games into the college football playoff.
Dave, I like the way that you kind of framed it and positioned that. And I looked at it similar to you of like, hey, take it for what it's worth. It's not the end all be all. And narrative was a word I thought of. I also thought of like the phrase self-fulfilling. Is it not a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy in some ways if you say all these teams have the best schedules and then they're all playing each other? So therefore they're all going to have, by the time we look up, they're going to have the best schedules. Are they not?
Oh, you know something? Look, you know what the number one strength of schedule was last year? You know who had the number one strength of schedule?
No, I don't.
Indiana.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah.
Right? I mean, look at the end of the season, right? I mean, who cares about the regular season? Yeah. You have to go through to win it all. You have to go through everybody. You go through everybody. Do you know who has the number one strength of schedule in the country each year of the playoffs? The national champ, because they have to go through everybody. Okay. Oh, you gotta beat somebody to win it all. No, you got to beat somebody to win it all during the postseason. But that's really not, to me, what the regular season is about. It's about separation, not inclusion. When it comes down to 9-3 and 8-4 teams, man, if you lose 4 games, I don't care who you are, you're out. Shut up. You know, it was like Sarkisian last year talking about, well, we belong in the playoffs. Dude, you didn't have a top 20 offense. You didn't have a top 20 defense. You're garbage. You lost games, you know? So, so to me, when I look at the strength of schedule, I think teams, the champ proves it at the end. But keep this in mind, folks. Keep this in mind. In the playoff era, there is not one postseason in which the teams with the better strength of schedule are even above 500. Teams with the better strength of schedule are not even above 500. Just because you play good teams doesn't mean you're a good team. There is no correlation between strength of schedule and the quality of your football team. That's like saying, well, Georgia played an all MAC regular season, so they suck because their strength of schedule is terrible. Shut up. Really, shut up. In fact, it's the other way around. The easier the schedule for these teams, I think the tougher they are. But nobody wants to talk about that because their health is better and they're actually better and more equipped to go into the playoffs. So I think the SOS is great as the way it is right now, which is everything is equal and a team with a better strength of schedule gets in over somebody with a worse strength of schedule only if everything else is equal. And we rarely get to that situation, but that's how the playoff committee has been applying it. I want to see if it's going to be different this year. And if it is, it's an absolute travesty and a manipulation of the system in order to get more teams in from the SEC.
All right. So you put out, this afternoon, you sent this to me. In fact, it was, so 9-3 gets you into the final top 25, but these 12, how many have Vegas win totals betting line over 8.5 wins? So if you go 9-3, but you were supposed to be 10-2, or you go 9-3, you were supposed to be or expected to be 8-4. What is that? Does that matter at all? If you're okay.
No, it doesn't matter. But my point here is this is part of the ESPN narrative. right? They have 12 of their 16 teams in the top 25 right now. Okay. To me, for no other reason other than to try to say, well, the FPI strength of schedule means that these are the best teams. And they're trying to correlate their strength of schedule rankings, which, by the way, I can manipulate any strength of schedule to make it look the way you want it to look. You want to talk about something that's easy to manipulate? Give me 138 teams that only play 3 non-conference games. I can do anything with the strength of schedule. So I think ESPN is already trying to change the narrative on strength of schedule relative to playoff positioning. And this top 25 is basically saying that. You look at Las Vegas, I think we would agree. That's a lot of smart mathematicians in Vegas that do what they do. And there is not a single SEC team that has a win total above 9.5. 9-3 doesn't get you into the playoffs. So basically, Vegas is saying that an SEC team has to go over their projected total to make the playoffs. Yet ESPN has 12 of the 16 teams going 9-3 or better. That's what ESPN's telling you. We got 12 of 16 going 9-3 or better, and Vegas only has 3 of them with a win total above 9. So it's just, to me, it's fishy, and that's the beginning. I think you are going to be force-fed. We are going to be force-fed ESPN, FPI, rankings correlating with strength of schedule every damn day until January 1st.
So, Dave, when I see that person on Twitter claiming conspiracy theory, ESPN's favoring the SEC, I can't just kind of dismiss that as much as I used to anymore. I kind of got to go, yeah, well, they may be onto something here.
Well, it's there's one thing to say it, but then there's another thing to use the data to back it up.
Right.
Okay. And now I think we all know if you had invested business interest in something, you want it to be successful. So I don't blame ESPN for trying to manipulate things in the medias to try to get fans and so forth to see it their way and promote their product. Now, up until last year, I had never seen anything in the playoff system that told me that cried foul, that was a red flag. Everything they had ever done up until last year was exactly to form. It didn't matter who the committee members were. They voted the same way. They ranked the teams the same. There was nothing different. It was all just narrative. Okay. So I know a lot of folks out there are going, what are you talking about? It changes every year. The narrative changes every year, but the rule committee only enforces the rules. They don't make the playoff ranking rules. They simply enforce them. And up until Notre Dame getting left out last year, they had enforced them very, very, very evenly. So I'm really curious to see if that ESPN pressure protecting their interests, which is SEC football, is really going to play a factor. I haven't seen it play a even slightly significant factor so far, but you can't blame them for trying. The thing is, though, when you're pointing fingers, is it's one thing to say there's a conspiracy. I try to use the data to back it up.
No, and I appreciate that. That's why your insight is valuable and it's fresh and it's appreciated. Specifically, what did the committee do and how they changed with Notre Dame last year?
I don't, because it was really Notre Dame, Alabama, and I wasn't in the final committee meetings where they ranked them, and the one thing that has been lost in this entire process that was promised us day one by Hancock was transparency, right? And I think we'd all agree we have less transparency now than ever. And there was no concrete, data-driven, actual reason for Notre Dame, Alabama right there at the end. Okay? It was when you listen to the committee chair, it was a word salad of BS. None of it made any sense. Okay. And so, it is a Chewbacca defense almost. So, and so with the committee, to me, I want to know the math behind the decision. I can't tell you exactly what it was, but the quality wins, the margin of victory, everything that made Notre Dame a playoff team in the last 12 years, according to the rules, said they weren't one this year. Probably the biggest thing is simply allowing the group of 6 in with an automatic bid, because I think we all know that Notre Dame is in and one of those teams is out in that situation.
What was your reaction when you saw the final standings? Anything in particular?
Oh, we missed our projection by one.
Yeah.
You know, because the part of what we've been, because Hancock gave us the ranking formula day one. He said, here's how it's ranked. Here's what the committee is supposed to do within the rules to rank the teams. And every week we would post the top 4 and how it would be ranked. We never missed. We never missed it. Even this year, 1, 2, 3, 4 in order again, right according to the ranking rules. We really had a lot of pride being able to forecast that top 10. And when we knew Notre Dame, Alabama by the formula was really, really tight. My only disappointment when I saw it was, okay, now tell me why. Exactly why. Not football why. Tell me exactly why. And that was my only disappointment, is I never got the true why, placing one over the other in that situation like they've never done before.
So, Dave, Indiana's the national champion, which is just absolutely insane. There was a time a few years ago when we thought we'd never see anybody but the SEC win a title. We thought maybe Ohio State would pop up, and they did. But 3 straight for the Big Ten, NIL, just all these things that have happened. Like when you look at where college football is now versus like 5 years ago, what has the info told you about how we've sort of arrived where we are right now?
Oh, Indiana, greatest story of my life. I mean, it's right up there with Ed Orgeron winning a national title. Totally inexplicable.
Yeah.
Totally inexplicable. I'll never get over the Indiana. I just don't even, I can't comprehend it. But from that standpoint, I believe that the playing field has obviously been much more leveled. But that being said, you still have a lot of SEC teams and Big Ten teams that have a ton of money that can still pull portal players and recruit in the top 30 that still suck. Bad. Okay? I mean, really, really, really bad teams. And even though they're spending the same amount of money. So to me, you got to go hats off to Cignetti and the staff, because they have the best staff in college football now. And I think from an SEC standpoint, I really got to believe that it's loss of depth. It is the pursuit of offense and the lack of focus on defense. Because when Nick Saban, a lot of people don't realize this, but when you follow the numbers, Nick Saban, he was a defensive-oriented coach, and then he started chasing points. And when Nick started chasing points, the rest of the league started chasing points, you know? And I think to their detriment. Yeah, I know the home run is sexy, but in football, you've got to be balanced on both sides. And you look at Indiana, they walked into the playoffs with the number 2 scoring efficiency defense, the number 5 scoring efficiency offense. The only team that was even close to that out of the SEC was Vanderbilt with the number 3 offense and Oklahoma with the number 9 defense. It took 2 teams to equal one Indiana on both sides of the football. And to me, the SEC has not only lost that depth, they have lost the continuity in playing good quality football on both sides. That was a hallmark of the best Georgia teams. It was a hallmark of LSU. It was a hallmark of Alabama. I think it's become too sexy in terms of trying to hit the long ball with the offense. I blame Saban for that. SEC needs to get back to balanced football and recruiting and coaching on both sides if they want to get that mantle back as the best conference in football, because I think we'd all agree, as long as you're holding the championships, that's what people count.
No, and well, they could shove that down everyone's throat, because year after year, just a chunk of teams, and not just Saban, but LSU, you mentioned Auburn would get one, Georgia would get one. So Saban was so against that kind of offense for the longest time. He used to almost call it I don't know what it was. He actually contacted Phil Bennett at Baylor, asking him if he could learn what Briles at the time was doing, which, as you know, was putting up big numbers. And Briles told Bennett, hell no, because Saban, he eventually flipped to that kind of an offensive setup.
Which is interesting, right? Because, you look at some of I don't think he really pursued the theories of what made him a winning coach. I think he was chasing butterflies and fugazis as well, because you look at like the middle eight that him and Belichick came out with. It's complete crap. It's been complete crap for 10 years. People have been chasing it needlessly. It doesn't affect the game the way anybody says it does. And we just proved that with the data over the last 15 years in the last couple of months. So I think he was chasing something he didn't need to chase. He had one team, I think the best team on paper that I saw out of Nick. I think it was 09. They were number one in scoring efficiency defense. I think it was 09. Their offense was number one in scoring efficiency offense. Okay. And they were the only Army snapped the ball slower than Alabama that year. They were the python. They were the boa constrictor. There was no speed. It wasn't about getting to 36. It was about absolute game control and constricting teams. It was absolutely glorious football. And when he started chasing points, I think part of it was his staff was getting worse and worse. He wasn't getting as good staffers. And that it wasn't the recruiting gap, it was the staffing gap that people were closing on him. And I think he was trying new things. And ultimately, I think he would have been better off staying with what got him there. And that was a constricting offense and a constricting defense.
So, Dave, from a conference standpoint, the SEC, you've pointed out kind of they need to get back to their ways of old. The Big Ten's flying high and soaring right now.
Yeah.
The ACC had Miami a year ago. I just kind of wonder where you see sort of, is that more of they've got a couple of good teams versus the league? And what do you make of a Texas Tech, of a BYU out of the Big 12? Do those teams stack up with the best of the best? Are we kidding ourselves in believing that? Is Texas Tech an outlier to everybody else? Sort of how do you survey the rest of the landscape there?
I would have. That's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And well, let's start with, we'll unpack the Big 12 last, because obviously that's in your wheelhouse. But the ACC to me is just a couple of good teams. And a couple of good coaches. Miami, I'm really biased because I helped put that staff together with Mario, and I've been working with him for his entire time there. And Dabo's trying to figure it out, but they don't have the top 10 talent they used to have. And Louisville is very well coached with Jeff Brom, but again, they're not sniffing top 25 talent. So I think it's going to be very, very difficult for them. You can call Notre Dame ACC if you want. I don't care. Notre Dame really is a national championship contender. They were last year. They were this year. They've upgraded their staffing again this year. So they have elite talent and elite staffing. But, for me, the ACC is, it's only as good as your top brands that pull the talent. And that ultimately is Miami and Clemson. And if they're not well coached, with Clemson still struggling on defense, they haven't figured out that side of the staffing yet. The ACC right now, outside of Notre Dame, is to me a one-trick pony with Miami.
Yeah, you mentioned, so you are actually helping Mario. Do other coaches, I hope, notice that?
Something, it was interesting. Coaches don't like change. Last year at this time, I discovered the single most important metric to control games and win football games. Basically, explosive plays, explosive scoring plays, EPA, and turnovers all fed into one game metric. And let me tell you how powerful it is. When Nick Saban wins my game control metric, he was 108-5. 108-5 at Alabama. Lost 5 games in which he controlled the football game. And I showed a bunch of coaches last year how to use timeouts to manage momentum and game control. One of them was Indiana. One of them was the Seattle Seahawks. Gave it 4 NFL teams and 11, because it affects the NFL and college football the same way. Momentum and game control is the same thing. You win it, you win 90% of your football games. Yeah, Dave Aranda, I'm talking to you. You need to know what this number means. So a lot of people know what we do, but a lot of people don't want to bring third parties into the building because for 2 reasons. One, they don't want to learn anything new because their schedules are so booked. They don't want to have to try to learn something new. And number 2, if they're not in the building, they just don't feel they can trust them. So the guys I work with are comfortable working with me from here in Oregon, knowing that we don't talk about what goes on. But it's interesting. And the NFL, folks, for everybody listening, the NFL trusts people even less than college football. I never in a million years. I got into the NFL. I started getting into that, and I'm like, holy moly. If you're not in the building, you are stupid and completely untrustable. They will not talk to anybody that isn't wearing their brand. So I'm amazingly myopic.
I was wondering who was more paranoid, college football program coaches or the NFL?
No, the NFL. You want to talk about hiring your buddies, man. I mean, it is recycle city. If they don't know you, they don't trust you at all. And it is brutal trying to break into the NFL if you're not already part of it.
Well, that double dip of Indiana and Seattle, that is pretty incredible. Just put those trophies up there on the resume and just say, like, here's what we've done. I mean, that's pretty amazing there, Dave. Circling back, is
yes.
Texas Tech an outlier to the Big 12? Are they a legit contender? Is BYU anywhere close? How do you view that?
Well, a year ago I'd have said, oh hell no, right? I'd have said hell no. But we have Indiana, right? And I know the focus with Texas Tech is on the money, is on the roster building, and is on the roster talent. But one of the things that we took a lot of pride in is with that Texas Tech staff build with Shield and Leftwich, you have the best OCDC pairing in the Big 12. You have a top 5 coaching staff in the country with those guys. McGuire's still trying to figure it out as a head coach. I think there's a lot of room for him, but he is arcing up. But in terms of play calling, I believe Mac and Shield there at Texas Tech are very elite. Do they have the talent on paper? They're still in the 30s by my numbers, maybe into the 20s. They're borderline Indiana, but you're still asking them to do something only Indiana, not even Indiana, only Cignetti has done in 150 years of college football. So while I say they aren't contenders, I can't say they can't be because of what Indiana's done, but I believe they have the staff. I still think they're on the outside looking in from a total talent profile standpoint. Still lead the Big 12. As for BYU, no. They have a lot of player continuity, but I don't think they're ever going to have the horses to make a 4 or 5 game playoff run and beat top 20 recruiters back to back. Actually, I could probably say that for anybody in the Big 12. That is a really, really tough road.
So the blue chip ratio for Tech is getting better. It's obviously getting better, right? Does that help at all?
The blue chip ratio is just when Bud created that, all that is just a spinoff of recruiting ranking. Blue chip ratio, in fact, and I started talking recruiting ranking for national titles back in 2005. So it's the same thing. Okay. So what I have done though, from a recruiting ranking standpoint, when you simply look at recruiting rankings, having a better recruiting ranking, you're going to win about 70% of the football games. Right. The other 30% is basically coaching. So obviously, the better you can recruit, whether it's blue chip ratio or just straight recruiting classes, the higher your ceiling is for wins and losses. But when it comes down to trying to sort through it, it used to just be high school recruiting. What I do now, just to let everybody know, is I take all of their transfer portal class rankings from all the different places, all of the high school class rankings, create my own composite. Then I take the best of the 4 classes. So, Texas Tech may have a great high school class in 23, a great high school class in 22, and the next 2 best classes of their portal class in 25 and 26. I take that to create the new talent profile. But whether it's blue chip ratio or just straight up talent profiles, outside of Indiana last year, outside of Clemson a couple of years ago, nobody's won a national title without 4 years of top 10 recruiting.
All right. Real quick, I know you got to go. Where were you on vacation? Did you go into Canada?
I was up in Canada for up on Vancouver Island for a bit. And then this week I'm going down to Jackson, Mississippi, going to do some sports betting. Some segments at a casino, and then out to University of Hawaii to do some athleticism testing and help those guys recruit the islands better. And then back in August for getting the game cams out and starting getting ready for September, because September is cartridge season, baby.
I can't wait. And all the work you do, man. Dave, great segment. I knew it would be. It's been too long. Thank you very much for your time and enjoy your travels.
Anytime, sir. I'm always here for you guys.
Dave Bartu, phenomenal stuff, and breaks it down in his way. And how about that he with Miami with Mario Cristobal, but also with Indiana, and then the Seattle Seahawks with a little bit of a nudge to them too. It's awesome. Good stuff. Thank you very much. A lot of you also with the feedback in the chat room. All right, we have more pictures that we're going to show because, it's been great. These are the Murphys. I think that's who we have in Lisbon with the 365 sports hats on in Lisbon. This is Bill and Don Murphy, friends of Kim Coulter, he sends a lot of people different hats, and then they took a picture, sent it to us, wanted to get them up in Lisbon. So thank you very much for representing what we do on 365 Sports. And then also, Craig, we were right next to Kuz, who has Kuz's Corner, covers West Virginia. There he was with us, right next to us with our setup at Big 12 Media Days in Frisco. Took that picture, and it was great to see him. We mentioned that last week, but great to see him. What a good dude in what he does covering West Virginia.
Yeah, no, very cool to see people wearing hats overseas and representing. That's awesome. So thank you to Kim. Good to see him last week, and good to see Kuz as well. Does it as well as anybody when it comes to covering West Virginia. So if you're a stray Mountaineer fan that's randomly found your way here and is connecting to the internet for the first time, and I encourage you to go on over to Kuz's Corner and get your West Virginia info over there. But good to see Justin and to talk to him there for a couple of days. And just really enjoyed being able to have that little bit of time. You talk to people online and do interviews here and there, but it's a different ball game when you can kind of just sit and chat for a little while. So that was a lot of fun, and glad that he was around and hanging out and able to get some stuff done and talk to Rich Rod and all that good stuff. So that was great.
That was great to see Kuz and everybody else that was there with us. And of course, we had a hell of a show. We have how many? 7 super chats today. Let's go. Here we go. One from your pet cat again. Okay, he contacted us late in the week, and he said these would be my Super League teams based on having a natty that they could be allowed to be a part of the tournament. Okay, let's see. Notre Dame, obviously. Ole Miss, nah. I don't know if they ever have one. Maybe in the 50s they might have. Ohio State, Oklahoma, Penn State, Pitt, Dorsett in the Johnny Majors teams. Tennessee, it's another Johnny Majors team, but also Tennessee with T. Martin. UT, UCLA, USC, Washington. Those were 11 of his Super League teams. Who else did he add to that list? These are teams with national titles. Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn. Arkansas has been since the 60s, almost in 69. And then you have BYU, Clemson, Colorado, with that Darian Hagan-led team with that hell of a football team in like 1990. Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Indiana, Iowa. I'm trying to think of Iowa's last national title. LSU, Maryland, trying to think of theirs. Michigan State, Minnesota had a bunch back 75 years ago, and Nebraska, it seemed like 75 years ago for me with all of what they did up until the one in 97.
Yeah, I mean,
thank you for the super chat.
Yeah, thank you, your pet cat again. I was actually got like a handful of them that they count, and Maryland I wasn't aware of until I just Googled a second ago. But 1953, that was the AP, so
that counts.
Yeah, they also could have counted just the UPI, but they had the AP in addition to that, so that feels like a real one, not one of those you claim 40 years after the fact, Auburn. But I think this is why the qualifications for a Super League would be a little bit different, because Under my definition, there's a bunch of teams on here that are not getting into the Super League for my definition of it. But this is a bunch of teams out of the two biggest leagues. So if your definition of the Super League is that it would just be the SEC and the Big Ten combining and then taking a Florida State or a Georgia Tech, for example, then yeah, you'd pretty much cover all the bases because Minnesota would get in and Maryland would get in. And I'm not sure if that would be the case under different sets of rules. But under the, hey, if you won one, you're in, maybe that would be a qualification. Then that would be a way to pretty much justify the entirety of those two leagues or a good portion of those two leagues, and certainly some schools that otherwise might not make it. I think right now, the only question I would have for BYU is just what appetite there is for the state of Utah and whether that would be more for BYU or for Utah. Would religion come into play? Not as far as people being anti-Mormon, but just dealing with schools of that nature, right? Like dealing with religion-based schools. Is that an appetite that the Super League would have, or is there some sort of separate thing for schools like that? Like, I don't know. That's what I would wonder. But BYU's is about as hot and has as much of an upward trajectory right now as just about any school. I just don't know that they're a slam dunk for a Super League, but they're doing their best, like to be in the best position possible for when a lot of these decisions are made. Like they've already made up a lot of ground these last couple of years. You can only imagine where they might be in another 3 years. Like when we get to 2030, I mean, do they have a couple Big 12 titles? Have they been in the playoff a couple times? They might be. But yeah, like your pet cat again. It's cool to look at this list just because there's a lot of teams I probably would have missed if I was filling this out. You know
who I didn't see, and this is just my memory, was A&M. It's been forever for them, but I didn't.
It does say part one, so maybe that's part two.
No, he already did. We did. I think we did them backwards. All right, let's go to another one. Thank you, Raz. Super chat. 7 of them from Bobby B. Shahan J. Always good. Thank you guys for making him a regular. We appreciate Shahan when he can join us. It was great to have him on today.
Yeah, thank you, Bobby B. I mean, remember when Shahan was just right for the lariat, right? Like a decade ago.
On campus,
and it's been cool to see his journey. Was at Dave Campbell's there for a little while, and then made the move over to CBS a while back, and he's been doing good work for them. And I think he's been a fresh voice for them. They've got a good crew of guys in general that cover college football. But yeah, I think he's been a bright spot, and it's been really our treat to have him on a regular basis. I like his opinions. Of course, you don't agree 100% on every single thing, but I find myself falling in line with, or not falling in line, but aligning with a lot of what he has to say, or feeling like, yeah, that's kind of what I think too. So yeah, and when I don't, that's also refreshing, just to have different perspectives. So yeah, I think he brings a lot to the table, and we're glad to have him on. So thank you, Bobby.
All right, so there's another one. Let's keep going. Stormy Cyclone. Pollard will be done by June of 2027 or sooner. Need a third. He is transparent on everything. That's the one thing we always appreciated about Jamie Pollard. Whether you agreed with him or not, he was going to tell you how he felt. He's the dragon among ADs, and we'll miss him and hopefully get him on here the next week or two.
I mean, I don't know if I'll miss him, but I mean, he did a really good job, and he was always very good for this show. I don't know him well enough to miss him, but I'm sure there will be some Iowa State fans that will, and then there will definitely be those that don't. But yeah, you were guaranteed that he was going to talk and say what was on his mind, and that is appreciative, or we're appreciative of that in the media for sure, and especially when it's not always the popular thing to do. Like when he joined us a couple of weeks ago, and he could have held back and not said anything on Texas Tech, but he said what he had to say because he believed it and believed it strongly enough, and didn't care if it ruffled feathers, and clearly it has, but it doesn't matter because he's going to say what he believes. And I just respect that. He's not somebody who's going to say what people want to hear. He's not going to say things just to rile people up, which we have far too much of that these days. He just says what he believes, and that's something that I really appreciate because it's so rare nowadays.
That's what I'm saying. He's the dragon among ADs. That's what you do. That's your style. By the way, I did send him a text. He said, I've heard 2 great quotes. This is from Jamie Pollard. I could always make more money, but I can't make more time. When we say we want to work one more year, we are really saying I get one less year to enjoy retirement.
Yeah.
That's from Jamie. Good for him.
I don't think it's all that complicated. I think he's an
No.
older guy who's been around for 20 plus years and looking around and tired of dealing with the BS. And even if you weren't tired of it, you just want to, have an extra year of retirement. Don't know when your day's coming. So while you still can, get out there and enjoy yourself. And I completely understand that.
All right. A couple of the other super chats were actually from your pet, Kedigan. Something about making sure that we get the other ones. Is that it, Rez?
Well, your pet
One more.
cat again. Thank you, sir.
Bow before your Bartu. SCC, ESPN, The Truth Hurts. And he was talking about Dave Bartu and the great segment we had with him.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about earlier. I said that I felt like you take what you want out of that, but it definitely sets a narrative. And he went a bit further and obviously pointing the finger right at ESPN. And I'm definitely not somebody that believes everything at face value. I also, though, feel like there's a pendulum that can swing where you don't believe anything that doesn't fit your version of the world. And that can be just as bad, if not worse. So I'm kind of trying to find my way in the middle, and the middle would tell you that, it is what you make of it. It's not the end all be all and isn't like dictating the playoff, but at the same time is ESPN trying to massage things in their favor for their favorite brand. Like, you can absolutely see that as well. And that's where I could see where, and a lot of people did have issue with this ESPN model being so high on practically the entire conference that they were nearly all in the top 25 of strength of schedule. And as Dave pointed out, there are ways where they can use that to their advantage to try to set the narratives once we get into the season and we start talking about playoff spots and all that. So it's good to call those things out or identify them, and then go forth with that information that this is not an exact science and this isn't necessarily the best way to even determine strength of schedule, but consider the source and then take that into account and do with it what you will. But for anything like that preseason, I think there's some value in that stuff, but I don't try to lose my mind over it too much.
As soon as I saw those rankings on Friday afternoon, I texted him and said, hey, you back from vacation? Let's get you on. And we got him on. All right. That does it. We had 7, but a couple of them were reminders about what we didn't get to at the end of last week. And then here is this tweet. I like to have these on occasion. I don't know what you want to call them. Dad says jokes.
Dad jokes. That's what you could call them.
Yeah. I love this, what this means. I saw this and went, damn, my response to him, and he does it. He has to be the happiest human being on earth. I saw a guy at Starbucks today. No iPhone, no tablet, no laptop. He just sat there drinking coffee. Weirdo. And I sat there and I went, that has to be the most content, relaxed, and happy person ever. Whoever that man was, Dad Jokes was just talking about that. I thought that was pretty cool. You go walk into a restaurant, everyone's like this on the phone. 2 people having dinner, they're on their phone. Oh, well.
Well, that person was entirely fictional, for one.
No, it was not.
Yes, it was. It absolutely was. From the Dad Jokes account. Yeah, it absolutely was. For 2, I understand the sentiment. That was very much a dad joke fictional scenario. Nevertheless, I get the messaging there.
That is true. That's the person saw.
It's really probably not true all that often, but I do think that the idea of that, and I do think we are, I don't know, this bigger picture. I think we're entering a period where a lot of people are realizing just how locked in we've been on electronics. And I don't know, I feel like people are kind of, maybe it's just the people I'm around getting older and realizing that, but kind of understanding of like, we've kind of been under a spell for like 5 or 10 years, it feels like. And it's like the fact that we even have to point out, like, wow, imagine sitting somewhere and not looking at your phone. Like that's some like, just like, wow, who would have thought of that? Like the fact that even comes across as some like brilliant idea, or like, that's kind of scary that doesn't seem like it's not just completely normal to do that on a regular basis. So we have been too into our phones, and hopefully a lot of people are waking up and maybe taking more time to just put it somewhere to the side and just look around the room a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's get to the wheel. Well, Andrew is not here today, but he did set us up for the wheel.
No, I was hoping for dinosaurs.
I'm taking this over. Go ahead.
Do you have
read
any
it.
plants, flowers that you take care of at your home? If so, what kind are they? If you both say no, then what's your favorite plant, flower to see out in the wild? I'm from Tyler, Texas, so I like azaleas, roses.
Beautiful.
Yes, it's the
beautiful.
Rose City. So, yeah, roses and azaleas, a big part of growing up. And so I'll always appreciate those. I don't have any plants myself. I do have a neighbor that you'd probably get along with incredibly. I hope they don't watch this show because they'll be easily identifiable. But in my place, I can look across the way, and there is a couple and older, as in probably like in their 60s. Don't know anything about them other than what started off as like a couple of potted plants has now become from like corner to corner of their entire place, and it's like 3 deep across the entire way. So what was probably a couple of plants about 4 months ago is at minimum like 45 plants now at this point.
That's
it's
awesome.
Like,
good for them. How many of them are marijuana plants?
None.
Yeah,
but
you never know.
I guess well, no, I'm pretty sure they're not just out there in the wide open for everybody to walk past.
Well,
but
that means they won't look because they don't think you just do that.
that doesn't make any sense. But nevertheless, yeah, I appreciate it. I know the bees love it. It's kind of getting insane though. Like it's kind of like OCD at this point of like, okay, I don't think you have any more room for plants. And so I am very interested to see in about 2 months how many more have been added, because we're in overflow territory. You're about to start affecting all your neighbors.
You got to start walking around with one of those masks that the guys who handle bees wear.
I mean, you might need to, because there's so many of them now that there's probably a couple hives that are just like, man, I'm setting up shop over there. All that pollen they got cooking, because yeah, it is like a freaking. It went from a tree to a forest of plants, basically. So it's been amazing to watch that these last few months.
All right, I live in a condo, and there's a stairwell. I have to walk down 6 or 8 steps, and then I go left. But there's a lot of area that used to just be there. And I have caladiums. I love caladiums, and I love elephant ears. I have a bunch of them. And hibiscus. They are gorgeous. Their bloom is amazing. So it's kind of like my little garden. And I also send pictures to my sister-in-law in Florida, because they got 1 million hibiscus where she and Marianne and Philip live around their resort or their condo where they live. It's beautiful. All right. Although the heat now, it's got a beautiful day today. It's going to start melting some of them. All right, let's get to the quizzes for today. Quiz number 1, Ken Griffey in 1993 created one of the most iconic home run derby moments by crushing a 465-foot blast at Oriole Park. Which famous Camden Gardens landmark did the kid hit?
Is it B&O Warehouse? Because other than that, I'm not even familiar with the other Camden Yards.
What if they have like an old, like one of those big clocks like you see in England? Let's go. B&O Warehouse
Like
stuck out
Big
to
Ben,
me.
you mean?
Yeah, Big Ben.
Yeah, I mean, B&O is the only thing I identify from Camden Yards, so that's where my mind goes.
All right, B&O.
There you go.
July 12th, 93, Ken Griffey Jr. crushed that 465-foot blast, struck the B&O Warehouse on the fly. To this day, he remains the only player to ever hit the historic building with a batted ball during either the Derby or regular season game. The exact impact spot is commemorated with a baseball-shaped plaque mounted directly on the brick wall along Utah Street.
Yeah, he was awesome. I love Griffey, even though I was never a Mariners fan.
Smooth as silk.
Loved his video game, even though he was the only player that had their actual name in the game. Everybody else was fictionalized, I guess, for licensing reasons, but it was an awesome baseball game back in the day. Spent hours playing that. He was the coolest in every way, and everybody was trying to be cool like Griffey back then who played baseball. So, yeah, he was awesome. Did you know the home run derbies tonight?
You know, I did, only because I happened to see a note on like my Twitter feed.
Yeah, it's on Netflix for those unaware. I mean,
is it really? It's not even on like the.
No, remember they made a whole big to do about they've got the rights for Netflix, so they're making it a big production. But yeah, it's All-Star Week, so this is typically like the slowest week in sports is kind of how it's known. But we're through day 1 of 5 of this slow week, and we'll have that to talk about. We get McGregor to talk about tomorrow as well, and what went down on Saturday night. I'm definitely going to get around to that on tomorrow's show. But yeah, good to be 1-0.
1-0 in the quizzes with Craig on B&O Warehouse. Number 2 quiz. 2008 home run derby at Yankee Stadium. Josh Hamilton hit 28 first-round homers. How many came consecutively during his legendary power display? God, he was so freaking talented.
And he's just just not a great story to look back on. I don't remember the consecutive part of this, so I'm going to say 7. But yeah, I don't remember.
I don't think 7's nearly enough. But again, I'm letting you. This is your modern age. If this was 1968,
modern age, we're both the same. 2008, you act like this is like 2026.
If it was in 68, I would mention Harmon Killebrew.
Okay, well, I think 7's probably
Willie
not nearly
Stargell.
enough. So you can.
I'm going to say 15.
Okay,
15.
It's probably closer. Yeah.
Oh,
all right, 13. Yeah, I mean, I remember watching this vividly. I just don't remember paying attention to the number in a row. So
wore his ass out. This home run derby thing can get guys into a pretty big slump when it's done. But what a night.
Battling back from personal adversity, the Texas Rangers slugger put on what is widely considered the greatest single-round performance of all time, and he didn't win. Like, that was the thing, too.
I know,
like, he just did all that just to not win, which was kind of what took some of the fire out of it. But it was a freaking show. I mean, it was a spectacle for sure. Hamilton launched an astonishing 28 home runs in the opening round, which included a mind-boggling streak of 13 consecutive long balls. Yeah, I don't remember all those in a row, with his longest traveling an estimated 518 feet. But that's actually something I've gone back and watched. I guess I just never paid attention to the streak itself. But I've gone back and watched that because just people's reactions in that moment, it was one of the coolest things ever. Although, again, it was the first round, so it was like, that would have been way cooler to end that way.
They've had to change up the rules 1,000 times or whatever. Paxton, I did not see your super chat. 13, not super chat, but he kept putting 13 down in the chat room, and I didn't catch that in time.
On that.
All right, so 1-1 today. Still on a streak. We have not gone 0-2, and I don't think ever. Which Big 12 team takes the spotlight in 2026? This is the poll, 45%. I mean, even if they aren't as dominant as they were last year, I still think it would be Tech, but Tech gets it 45-28 over BYU.
Yeah, it's still Tech to me. I mean, for all the stuff that's occurred this offseason, it doesn't change the team all that much, in my mind at least. And as Dave Bartu pointed out, they've got a couple of great coordinators. I think Joey McGuire is a great culture guy. I wouldn't put him necessarily like X's and O's best coaches. I would not have him like top of mind, but I think total package, he's up there. And just has a great culture going. And obviously they've done a great job talent-wise. So, yeah, I mean, this is a no-brainer if not for the Sorsby stuff, right? I mean, basically there would still be some BYU push, but even with the Sorsby stuff, it still feels like, yeah, they're the most well set up. So, spotlight, especially if we're talking spotlight, yeah, absolutely it's on Texas Tech. But BYU would definitely be the strong number 2. And then I understand Utah being 3, but I feel like they're more wild card rest of the field than those two are. I think those two kind of are by themselves a little bit.
I know Utah wants to scratch and claw to be a part of it, and maybe they will be, along with maybe another team or two. Let's get to the second poll. Which powerhouse is taking over the SEC spotlight in 2026? UT at 33%, Georgia 28%, and then LSU 16%, and then a wild card, who that might be. Maybe it's A&M for change, 24%, or possibly Ole Miss. We'll see. But Texas, that's a very close vote, 33-28.
Yeah, Georgia, there's a lot of feeling around them being back to where they're supposed to be, I guess you could say. And for Texas, this is the big buildup for what's probably not even going to be Arch's final year. We're going to play it like it is, and then he's going to announce that he's coming back in some Viore commercial or something. But there's definitely a lot of expectations. I mean, I don't want to hear for a single second. I don't anticipate that I will, but you never know that, oh, well, no, it's about 27, because I feel like that's what we did last year. It's like build up Texas and then no. Y'all were all just a year early. I don't think we were. I think we were going and track with everybody else, but then the results weren't quite what you expected. That's not the case this year. Like, there's no denying that, yeah, they are right out of the gates one of the favorites, and rightfully so with the talent that they have. They're going to be fascinating. LSU, I know Kiffin's trying to downplay, but it's like Texas. Like, you're in the spotlight regardless. I don't care how much you try to, like, no, we're going to win big. It might not be this year, though. It's like, no, LSU, it's every year. It doesn't matter the circumstances. They're going to be fascinating. But yeah, and A&M could jump up, and who knows who else. It's going to be a really fun and entertaining year in the SEC.
I'm hoping Ole Miss is good without Kiffin for the entire year. Hopefully that works out for Golding, but also I just love their quarterback in Trinidad Chambliss. All right, Rez, what a day. Man, you did great. Thank you so much. Garrett Ross, Andrew Valade, Logan Bagessi, and also Houston Hall today. And thank you, our audience, for being a part of what we did the last almost 3 hours. We're back again tomorrow at 3. Craig, have a great night. The Home Run Derby is tonight.
Yep.
The All-Star Game is tomorrow night then, right? Man, have things changed for me and my priorities. I'm David Smoak. Thank you to our great sponsors. Good night, 365 Sports.
Have you heard of the new IRA? The new IRA Insurance Retirement Advantage is the solution for high-income individuals and business owners who want to grow and protect their wealth without locking up capital or taking unnecessary risks. The new IRA Insurance Retirement Advantage is an option you need to know more about and is only available exclusively from North Star Funding Partners at northstarfundingpartners.com.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Make this the summer event at Allen Samuels in Waco. Get behind the wheel of an iconic new Dodge Charger RT and score $5,000 in savings. First responders and military members get an extra $500 bonus. Allen Samuels Dodge.
Come by, let's be friends.
Hi, I'm Dana Hassel, President and CEO of American Bank. Waco is a great place for business, and for more than 70 years, American Bank has been the bank for business. We continue to invest in our growing community with state-of-the-art branches conveniently located to serve you within minutes. Our experienced bankers, lenders, and decision makers work directly with business owners like you every day, providing tailored solutions, timely answers, and local insights, face-to-face. Schedule a meeting with one of our bankers today and find out what makes American Bank the bank for your business. Member FDIC.
At Home Place Interiors, we elevate your space with elegance and class. We are the exclusive Sonoma Tile dealer in Central Texas, bringing you the best in high-end floor coverings that transform your home with beauty and elegant design. Our white glove service and expert consultations ensure your vision becomes a reality as we take you step by step through the process. Call today to schedule your personal design consultation. Visit HomePlaceInteriorsTX.com. Home Place Interiors, crafting elegance, one room at a time.